in the morning. You got me up all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening. Wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again. Argue about everything. You are my darling. This kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day. I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say, we gon' be okay. We just gotta boom, bada boom, ba. I don't wanna fight, you know that I'm right. Baby, let me talk to your body. We gon' be okay, hear me when I say.
Happiness is an emotion that many men are not experiencing today in modern times and relationships. Because of the lack of happiness, many men have avoided relationships to find peace, solace, and grace in other areas. About 2 weeks ago, I went to the beautiful country of Brazil to give an anecdotal report on why men are avoiding relationships in modern America, but also why men are looking for peace and happiness outside the confines of the United States. Is it true or is it realistic that men are leaving relationships because they can't find the joy, peace, and happiness that they deserve? Or is it because the way our women have been socialized has led to them not finding the happiness that they deserve and or want? As you know, emotions like happiness are often hard to find in this modern culture. And because of the lack of love, reflection, and attention, a lot of men are actually comparing notes and saying the same thing. We're gonna more or less explore a topic on Saturday around 8 o'clock. And we're gonna ask ourselves the question, is there a such thing as post Brazilian depression? Is there a such thing as post-Brazilian depression? And is that post-Brazilian depression often accompanied by joy, sadness, and shame? I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this show on Saturday once again as we continue to explore the dynamics of how happiness and peace can be the cure for a lot of the ills of a lot of men and women. And we also understand that when men and women come together as a team, and when men are able to take part in their role of why they're not happy, then perhaps they can set the standards that are necessary to let the women that they desire know what they desire, need, and want. But sadly, a lot of our men are born in cultures where men are not given the voice or the encouragement to speak their own truth. And because of that, you've seen a declining rate of marriages and birth rates. But I want you to sit back and relax and enjoy this show as we're going to be bringing it to you live from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State. And we're going to continue to explore the dynamics of post-Brazilian depression and what that remains, or what more or less remains, as we continue to find resolve in this current malaise called America. Be well. All right. We got the esteemed brethren from BMO. We got my man Ty Maynard Cutler, my homie, bringing it to you live from New York City. Now, I want this show to be intentional because there's a phenomenon that I recorded when I went to Brazil called post-Brazilian depression. And I didn't think it was real until I experienced a little bit of it myself once I got back to the United States. But before we start this show, guys, I want you to introduce yourself, starting with Brother Gerald Williams, and then to what I call him the Aaron of the BMO movement, my man Eric Spencer. So introduce yourself, guys. Tell the guys who you are, and we're going to have a collaboration on tonight.
Okay. I'm Gerald Williams. I reside in San Francisco, California. I'm in law enforcement.
Okay, great. All right. Eric, tell the people who you are, brother.
Eric Spencer, representing BMO, the Black Man's Option, as always.
BMO, no doubt.
Down in Orlando.
Get your coins up. We got to get my man Ty to Brazil at some point.
Hey, at all times, brother, at all times. Yeah.
All right. Don't think. Thank you, Eric. All right, so Ty, tell the audience who you are, and we're gonna have a collaboration. And to the people that are listening, we're gonna have a special guest. She's an awesome woman. I follow her for a while. Named Jolita. She's gonna come in and give us some perspectives as well. So Ty, tell the audience who you are, and what do you see as some of the issues in American relationships. So tell the audience who you are.
Yes, so I'm Ty Cutner, image coach and relationship coach. Currently, I'm helping men move on from betrayal relationships that they were cheated, where it was cheating, divorce, separation, whatever the case, help them move on from that. So all day long, I'm speaking to guys who are trying to get over or trying to get out of failed relationships, trying to get back to their lives, trying to get back to their kids, their purpose, their mission. So that's who I am.
No doubt, no doubt. Awesome, awesome. Now listen, guys, there's a connotation about what it means to be depressed. And as a clinical therapist, I've taken it upon myself to start this initiative to help empower men, but also for men to speak about the issues that they are having as it relates to relationships, as it relates to male mental health, and how to create a paradigm or create a situation where they can be at peace and get their needs met as they seek to get the woman that they care about needs met as well. So before we start, guys, I want to start off by saying, "Or to the bane."
To the bang, to the bang.
To the bang. So as we start the show, before we start, I want to call on my Cash App Crusaders, and I want to give a special shout out to brother Gary Lynn Scott. Thank you for donating to Cash App last week. I want to personally thank my man Todd Maynard Cutner. Thank you, sir. I want to thank my man El Guapo of Beautiful Lives. Go check out that brother. I want to thank Mr. Melody and my man P. Armour. So listen, guys, this show is going to be a fire show tonight because Post Brazilian Depression is a real phenomenon. So Gary, not Gary, but so Gerald, you know, I want you guys as we begin to get this show started, I want you guys to jot down 3 to 5 adjectives in your head when you think about dating in America. I want you to jot down 3 to 5 adjectives in your head, or write them down on a piece of paper when you think about dating in America. And you can jot it down or you can say it out loud. Once you get it, raise your hand and we're going to start this collaboration. All right, starting with you, Gerald. When you think about dating in America, give me 3 to 5 adjectives.
Anxiety, depression, unexpected denial, and it's very expensive, very time.
It's a very expensive. All right, Spence, give me 3 to 5 adjectives when you think about dating in America.
Attitudes, entitlement, product quality, availability, emotionally, and supportiveness.
Right. Okay.
Thereof.
Okay, y'all got a mixture of adjectives and nouns, but that's fine. Ty, adjectives and nouns. Give me 3 to 5 adjectives or nouns that make, when you think about dating in America, give me your input.
Scarcity. I think confusion, a lot of confusion, and hostility. Interesting. Yeah.
Brother Dean Jean-Pierre, I think I said your name right. You're from the Windy City of Chicago, and he has his own YouTube channel where he talks about dating. He talks about the city of Brazil. So Gene, if you're listening, give the audience 3 to 5 adjectives or nouns when you think about dating in America, and when you think about the relationship dynamic between men and women.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Well, the number one thing, one of the main things I noticed between American women and Brazilian women are more easygoing. They tend to be a little more feminine, and they, like I said before, they're more open to meeting men they don't know, because American culture is more cliquish, Brazilian culture is more open. So it's easy to make friends, it's easy to connect with people. And I have more friends in Brazil than I have in the United States because it's such an open culture. Like I said before in the previous podcast, they don't have the hang-ups about sex that a lot of American women have. American women, they tend to see sex as something that a woman gives and a man takes. Whereas in Brazil, they see it as just part of their lifestyle. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just, if they like you, they like you. In general, I'm just speaking in general terms.
Right.
In Brazil, the man is the man figure is held in higher regard than here in America, where America is a very feminist country now.
Mm-hmm.
There's feminism in Brazil too, but it hasn't gained the traction that it's gotten here in the States.
Right.
Because in order for feminism to thrive, you have to have the media and the government, the judicial system, to back you up.
Right.
So those are the main differences. Being in this a different climate, the women tend to be in better shape. They don't eat a lot of the processed foods that American women eat. It's just a totally different animal.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the alternate universe.
Right. The alternate universe. Chris Strongheart, how you doing, brother? Can you hear us?
Good, brother. What's good?
All right, no doubt. When you give the audience 3 to 5 adjectives or nouns, Chris, that comes to mind when you think about dating and relationships in America.
Oh man, 3 to 5. I might need more than that.
Well, give as many as you can.
I mean, it's right here. It's great. I mean, it's tranquil. It's mind opening. It's life changing. I mean, it's so different. Like the mentality is so different. Dating in the States versus dating over here in Brazil. I mean, like I said before, the way they treat you, it's like the culture is different. The biggest thing is the culture is really different, and
right.
You're not really beholden to that whole materialism lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Like you can come out here, you can be yourself. Be respectful, obviously, to the culture. Come down here and try to learn from the people a little bit. And obviously having a little bit of grasp of the language can go a long way. Just like knowing some of the basics and some of the greetings will really help you. I mean, and the brothers know. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the BMO brothers and the BMO family here right now. You know what I'm saying? Salute to y'all. You know what I'm saying? So, like. And they know, you know what I'm saying? The brothers who've been out here, even brothers who have traveled, know what it feels like to get outside of what we call the matrix and be able to experience something outside of what you've been programmed to believe you are inside of the States.
Right. Brother Dennis Jean-Pierre, there's been a movement that's transcended what we're talking about now. I want you to tell the audience, what was dating like for you before you went to Brazil? And I want you to tell the audience how dating in Brazil is giving you peace, resolve, and giving you more purpose and focus.
What was dating like for me in the United States?
Yes, sir.
Very inconsistent, very sporadic. I didn't feel like, I felt like I wasn't, how can I describe this? I felt like I wasn't in control a lot of the times. I felt like it was like the luck of the draw a lot of the times. You know what I'm saying? And I put the work in. I increased my finances. I improved my dress. I improved my game. All that stuff. I did all the things that a lot of these dating coaches nowadays teach you how to do. I did all that, and my results were still inconsistent. So I said, man, something's wrong. Something's wrong. And I got tired of beating myself up and saying it was my fault. You know what I'm saying? Because men, we have a tendency to, we'll take the blame on. We'll take the blame for some of the stuff we do. You know what I'm saying? We'll take responsibility. But after a while, I'm like, something's wrong here. So I said, let me change my environment. Let me try something different. Let me go down to Brazil, because I've been hearing a lot of good things about Brazil, prior to me going there. A friend of a friend had lived there, was living in Brazil, and he was telling me how it was. So I said, okay, let me check it out. But it wasn't until I watched Al Grease's video, the Frustrated documentary, that's what pushed me over the edge.
Right.
After I watched that documentary, I said to myself, I'm going this year. So I went and got my passport, got my visa, bought a plane ticket, and went down there, and it changed my life totally.
Wow, that's powerful. Let's start back with brother Gerald, Mr. Williams. Gerald, you can share what you want to share about your personal life, whatever you choose to share. But, when you were dating or whenever you were married, what were some of the struggles that you had, Gerald? And you share what you feel like you want to share that led to your untimely demise in your relationship. What were some of the struggles that you experienced as it relates to cooperation, as it relates to honor you as a man, as it relates to submission? What did you discover, and how did that cause you to be in a state of anxiety and or depression?
Well, I think it had to do a lot with finances. I think the American female, particularly the African American female, prefer the bag instead of the man. Our society has set them up to whereas you don't need the man financially. So then what else do you need them for?
Right.
Dating, or maybe procreation, or just satisfaction sexually. So that gives them more of a, I don't want to say advantage, but they can be more particular about things, because the family unit, you're supposed to be working together.
Right.
You're not working together in that aspect, and they turn into more of the masculine type of person. They don't want a self-thinking a man that can do just as much as they can, because they like that control.
Right.
They want a less economically strong brother, to whereas they can control them. I.e. you gonna stay here and play this PlayStation. I'm gonna go to work, and you gonna pick me up and drop me off. And if I feel like I don't want you to do nothing, I'm gonna take the keys.
Right.
You know, I got a joke that says she dresses the kids up on a picnic the same way that she dressed him up. They all dressed up in nice clothes and Jordans, and he ain't got a nickel in his pocket.
Right.
But it's the control.
It's the control, right?
Yeah.
Right. Thank you, brother. Eric, let's talk about you, man. You're an accomplished black man. You're Air Force vet. You're doing very well for yourself. What's wrong with dating in America? And when did you become depressed when you thought about the dating options in America?
Well, let's see. So for me, it wasn't until my 40th birthday. And I can give you a quick background. My problem was I came from a two-parent home where my parents were married for 51 years.
Yes.
So I grew up in a structure looking for a wife.
Right.
And a lot of women aren't looking to be wives. They're looking to see what they can get out of you.
Right.
How they want to control you. And it wasn't until I had an incident that happened to me on my 40th birthday, or around my 40th birthday, is where, I had my red pill moment. And a woman that I was interested in, she said to me that she had some other options she had to explore. So I said, all right, cool. So I backed off from this woman, and then she came back into my life. She came to Orlando. She spent the weekend with me. We had a great time. And then 4 weeks later, she showed up engaged on Facebook.
Wow.
And I was perplexed, because I'm like, wait a minute. You were just here in my bed, butt naked, pushing and shoving, and now you engaged to another dude? I mean, let's just keep it 100.
Right.
And I had to sit back and think. I'm like, wait a minute. Like you said, the car, the house, the investments, all the other stuff. I'm like, staying in shape, clothes. Something's wrong here. Something's really wrong here. And that's what started my journey on finding out what's really going on in America. And looking at it in hindsight, that was like almost 7-8 years ago. It's like I had to go through a process. Luckily, I was able to go through and do some self-diagnosis and figure out that they don't value you. You're just a commodity to them.
Yes.
And once you figure that out, you still have to go through and do some more self-evaluation, because we've been programmed and socialized to be traditional.
Right.
And a lot of women out here are not traditional. Black women in particular, they are not traditional. They have no respect for you unless you're doing what you want them to do. They want you to do. And once you go against that grain, then it's combative, because they can no longer control you. And for me, I got to the point where I was tired of dealing with the combativeness, because we're supposed to be a team unit, and that's not the way we're acting. We're competitors, because just because you give me some ass, I'm supposed to do what you say? No. And it became a problem.
Right.
And
yes, sir.
And a lot of women just don't, they don't want to deal with that. Like Gerald was saying, if they can't control you, then they don't want to be around you. And I think that's that masculine concept. So for me, dating in America, after I went to Brazil in 2017, I came back and I had to reassess what I was dealing with. And
Right.
here we are, 2021. I'm done.
And the paradox of what you're saying is, Eric, is this: it's not the black men in America. To the women that are listening, and we're going to bring Jalila on at some point so she can give her own interpretation of what's wrong with dating and traditional women in relationships. It's not that black men don't want to be with black women in America. It's the bad treatment that a lot of them experience. I mean, you look at Gerald. Gerald's in great shape. You're in great shape. Chris, you know, I'm getting there. You know, I look like the black Stay Puft man. So I'm trying to get there. But these brothers are in great shape. Jean Pierre, he's in great shape. And you know, Ty's slim. I call Ty slim. But it's like the more you give, it's like it's never enough. And so Dr. Tia Johnson called it the ConcuSurf. I created a term that I call the commodification of subjugation as it relates to solipsism. So the man is seen as a commodity to be subjugated to her own whims, and she does it based on her own selfish ambitions. But see, women of the past is a term I created called the commodification as it relates to gratification, where the woman seeks to desire and to help the man become the best version of himself by working with her man in partnership, because she knows that there's a component when she's feminine that man is going to be greater, and he's going to be willing to do more as it relates to him, the children, the community, and the family. But you know, you don't get that cooperation and love anymore. It's almost like the man coming to the relationship expected to serve all the time, and she's on her perch and she's looking down on him, which has caused this chasm that we see in relationships. What's your guys' take on that?
I think the American media has done a really good job of propagandizing the population to make them feel like black men are beneath them, and black men are not about anything, that black men are basically second class citizens.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think because it doesn't matter. People talk about all this high value male stuff. It don't matter if you're a millionaire, man. Most people are still going to see you as less than.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? We don't travel to Brazil just for pussy. We travel to Brazil for peace and respect too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's not just about the vagina. It's all about the peace, the respect, the weather, the culture. It's the total package.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But,
Right.
Well, I think a lot of us were suffering in silence alone, because the whole thing is, when I was suffering, I didn't know it was brothers like me that had the same mindset, but didn't know what to do. And in the American black culture, men aren't, it's frowned upon if we open up to how we're feeling. So I was suffering in silence, like, well, man, you tripping. You probably be the only one that be suffering like this, until I looked at the frustrated, and I got into 2017 on the first trip, and there was a lot of us. But the dynamic of it was, I was suffering just like you and didn't know it, and didn't have the outlet to do so. So you're right. At first, you know, you get overwhelmed by the sensory overloads take over. But when everything settles down, it's really the brotherhood and how you're treated. I felt the masculinity when I got off of the plane for the first time. Right. Didn't know what it was until I met a female. She was feminine, and she was comfortable in being feminine and being a woman. So I had to relearn how to treat a female in that capacity. And I had no problem with it. But I think we all suffer, especially in the Matrix, on how we're feeling, but we just don't have that outlet.
I think what you're saying is powerful. Go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt y'all, but I'm gonna have to jump off now because I'm out and about. But thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Gene. We'll bring you back at some point, man. We'll have a full show. Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, Dennis.
All right, man.
All right.
Peace.
So, Miss Johnson, I want you to listen, because you're doing a great job. Thank you, man, for coming in on the show, because I want to bring a woman on to give her perspective from a different worldview. But let's talk about depression. We're talking about depression before Brazil, and then we're going to talk about depression after Brazil, because a lot of times, guys, in the clinical world, most people don't address the needs and concerns of black men or men in general. A lot of times the needs of men are more or less pushed aside or minimized. One of the reasons why I became a clinical therapist, to address some of the deficits that a lot of men are having, because there's a crisis in America. And I said in the past that a hopeless man is a broken man is a hopeless man. And a hopeless man is a dangerous man. And a community can only rise as high as the warriors that are in that community to help them rise. In order for a man to rise, he needs the touch of a soft, feminine woman to push him through. So, Chris, let's talk about your depression before you went to Brazil. We're talking about depression before Brazil, and then we're going to talk about depression that came about after Brazil. And then, Miss Johnson, I want you to come in. I hope I said your name right. Did I call your name right?
Yes, you did.
Come in and give your perspective from a woman's point of view. What's wrong with the lack of femininity in this current milieu that we call America? So, Chris, let's talk about your depression before Brazil.
So, before Brazil, I was coming out of a divorce. I had been married for about five and a half years. It was very tumultuous. It was, I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like Gerald was saying, like I was raised up thinking that I had to be, married. And especially coming from a military background, like my parents was military. I grew up military, and then I eventually got in the Army. I came in with the mindset of, oh, I need to get in here. I need to find a wife and, do all that, because that's.
He fell off. It's connection. He fell off. So let's, until Chris come back. Gerald, what was your depression like before going to Brazil? Why were you depressed? What were some of the elements of the depression? Maybe you addressed it, but we're going to piggyback. I think Chris is trying to come back.
Okay. It was just basically the lack of quality relationships, not really knowing what the females wanted. And I got a 7-figure job. I keep myself up, and it just wasn't good enough. It was just more, right. I want to take over this relationship. And yeah, it's always a yeah, but it was never no type of compromise. It was never no type of let's agree to disagree on to another day. It was just total dominance of the situation. Mm-hmm. So whereas I'm like, I'd rather just be by myself and suffer in silence and maybe find something else to do, which I got into my job. Like you start compensating for other things for the lack of what you can't want.
Right.
I started having 5-minute relationships. I'd get with a female, I'd talk to her, and I'd have the relationship in 5 minutes and be like, no, I don't want to be bothered.
Guys, mute your mic while Joel is talking. Guys, mute until you're talking. There's some static in the background. So guys, please mute your mic. Let me make sure I got Facebook closed out. Got somebody. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, please mute your mic, guys. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just saying that was just, you start subconsciously destroying a relationship where a female may be interested in you, and you have these triggers that she may do something or say something that you've already been down that road, and you clamp up and be like, I'm not about to have it. So you just straight cut off relationships right before they even start. Right.
That's powerful, man. Gerald, Eric, let's talk about your post-American depression, pre-American depression, and then we're going to talk about at some point post-Brazilian depression. Why was Eric Spencer depressed? I know you talked about the relationship and being betrayed, and then Ty, you're gonna come in and talk about love after betrayal. But why was Eric Spencer depressed before going to Brazil? And then we're gonna talk about depression after Brazil, the real social cultural phenomena. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so pre-Brazil, I think the biggest thing was, you've been told so many things. You're supposed to do this, you're supposed to be this and that. And like it was alluded to earlier, a lot of that social media was part of that. I'm 48, so I grew up in the 80s. The music, the media, and all the talk shows. So all that stuff was a major influence to a lot of Black men that we need to do better, need to be better, and all the other things. So a lot of men went under that pretense of doing these things. Mm-hmm. And it was a lie, because now fast forward, you can see the results. A lot of men that were doing those things, being affectionate, being loving, being understanding, and being all the things that we were told to be, it was a lie, because the men that the women were going after were just the opposite. And now we have data that represents that, you know? So for me, like I said, my parents were married for 51 years until my father passed.
Right.
So I grew up in a 2-parent household my entire life.
Right.
And my aunts and uncles, you know, you from North Carolina, I'm from North Carolina too. You don't get divorced.
Right.
It's a rarity to see divorce.
Right.
People get married and they stay together and they make it work.
Right.
You know, but for me, that's not what I was seeing. You know, the women that I wanted to, what I was attracted to, they didn't want me then. They wanted the bad boys or the dudes that were doing just the opposite. And like I said, for me, it was a paradigm shift that I had to undertake. Unfortunately, it took me a lot longer than most guys because I had to figure it out on my own.
Mm-hmm. 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 Ms. Johnson, when you hear the concerns of these men, I want you to more or less contextualize what's going on in your head when you hear all these different levels of brokenness. What are you hearing? And I want you to give me your feedback as a valued woman in America.
I am a mother of sons, so, and
Yes,
I even
ma'am.
had stepsons. So some
Yes, ma'am.
people think that I advocate for men because of that. Well, oh, you have boys, but I don't think Black people, period, understand the hate that they have for Black men.
Mm-hmm.
When I talk to other Black women, and I mean, we would say highly educated, the lowest maybe is a master's degree, but maybe multiple master's degree PhDs. And trying to explain to them that how much they hate Black men, it's like, I feel like I'm talking to a racist because they don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say, oh, you're just saying all that because you got boys. I had one woman tell me, who was in education, an elementary school principal. She said, I never really cared about Black boys getting killed by cops or each other until I had a son.
Right.
And I'm like, how can you say that? I mean, about any human being, let alone your own race, and you're dealing with little boys.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that a lot of Black men don't know. I think it's hard to comprehend this hostility
Right. Black
women have towards Black men, because you don't know where it's coming from. I always say maybe it's because they didn't have a father.
Right.
Because most of the women who have this hostility, they didn't have a father. And I don't think they've really dealt with that and what that means, because it seems normal because so many of us didn't have a father, but it's not normal for a human being not to have a father, mm-hmm. even though 80% of us didn't.
Right.
And I think, I'm like, is there some type of abandonment issues they're dealing with? They're dealing with something. Mm-hmm. And I can't even cut through it when I'm talking to them.
You can't. And right.
I'm trying to explain, well, no, well, this isn't true about Black men. Oh, you always just saying that because she the married type. Yeah, she married. She always saying that. Everybody ain't trying to be married like her. I mean, I had this happen to me Friday night. And I'm like, oh, I mean, okay. I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm like, I've been married most of my adult life. I like being married. I want to be married. And I was with us 2 single women, and they were talking to men, but it was like you're considered almost weak as a woman if you're married and you're working it out with your husband. Mm-hmm. And I think particularly if you have a Black husband.
Right. And Ms. Johnson, as a clinical therapist, I brought these things to light because, as I said earlier, a lot of men suffer in silence. They don't have any solace. And so when men don't have that solace or peace of mind, they a lot of times turn inward to violence or mm-hmm. even alcoholism or even, being rampant with promiscuity. And so normally in traditional PWIs, I went to a very liberal school, UNC Chapel Hill. They don't really talk about male issues. It's always through the feminist lens, which in essence, it minimizes the importance of masculinity because men are always seen as the bad guys. And so what you're seeing in this collaboration right now is what I call a group catharsis, where men are more or less letting out all the negative pain and emotion that they've been through. And so when you think about Black men traveling abroad, leaving the confines of America, looking for femininity, what comes to mind, Ms. Johnson, when you hear that?
Well, I told my sons I don't want them to marry American women.
Wow.
So I've told my own sons, I said, do not marry American women.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Right.
And one son, the type of man he is, I'm like, you need to go to a third world country and get you a woman. Just this, the type of man he is. And I said that when he was 9, and he's 29 now. So I think I get it, because as a mother of sons, I don't see any young ladies who I think I would want my sons to marry. And I see, I mean, my friends who are married, been married all their life, all their adult life. I asked them, I said, have you talked to your daughters about being married?
Right.
Because their daughters are adults, and they're like, no, I never think about that. And I'm like, and some of them have beautiful marriages. Like, you've never talked to your own daughters about getting a husband? But they all talk about, well, she's getting her master's now. She's working on this certification. She got accepted into this university, for some type of advanced degree or their career. And I mean, their daughters are in their mid to late 20s, and they said, like, we were all out to dinner once, and they're like, no, I never even thought about it. And I see them, and I see some of them have such beautiful marriages. Like, how is it that you've never wanted that for your own daughters? So these aren't like street women, or I used to have something called Ladies of Excellence. I had a group for young ladies, 16 through 18. And we taught them how to set a table properly, how to eat different types of food properly, just how to act when you're at a theater. What's the etiquette at a theater? We would always we would kick it off with a tea, an actual tea with china and all. And so there's etiquette when you're having a tea. There's etiquette when you go to an Italian restaurant. There's an etiquette way when you're at a theater. So we were teaching all these things to the young ladies. And it seemed like for maybe the first 4 years I was doing it, like a lot of them like really got it and they enjoyed it. And we had different speakers come in, different women come in and would speak about dress attire. So our girls would know the difference between what's going to the club and then what's dressing up for work, because a lot of our women don't know the difference. So it seems though a lot of young ladies get offended, or like you're challenging them, or this whole feminist, well, everyone doesn't want to be that way. Well, you don't have to do that. And it's like, okay, this is just for the girls who want to be. You don't have to be here. But it became combative with all of this, especially as the Me Too movement started. So we did end up shutting it down. I do want to start it back up.
Right.
But we end up shutting it down because it got when that whole Me Too movement, you got to think in school, in education, feminism, I mean, it's pushed.
Right.
And then I had one girl say, well, why are you calling it Ladies of Excellence when, like basically, I'm old school, you guys, when a boy say he's a girl, like they should be, the transgender kids should be included in this.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, I'm not trying to do all of this right now. I'm not into all of the feminists and listening to how horrible our men are. And it's like, I'm gonna say something kind of controversial. It's like Black women want to be white women so much, you pretend like you're being oppressed by your men, and you're not even being oppressed.
Miss Ann, they want to be Miss Ann.
Say it for the folks in the back so can hear it, Ms. Jones.
And I listened to all of this stuff about all this male bashing, and it's like, but that's not our men. And I'm not saying, but the only men they seem to respect are the tyrants. I mean, like the thugs, they love them. The guy who has 20 kids, they can respect that, but they can't respect the scholars. So I get it. I get men going abroad. I want my sons to marry a woman that's not from this country.
Right.
Even when they come to this country, they start getting poisoned. They're here long enough. They're going to start getting that, men are bad and only good man is a man that acts like a woman.
Right.
So
right.
I appreciate the masculinity. My father came from all boys. Well, my grandparents had all boys. So I was around a lot of men growing up.
Right.
And I appreciate, I just always appreciated that the calmness that in structure that men always seem to bring.
Right.
When we were running around the house as kids, when daddy walked in, just like everybody kind of chilled a little bit. When we were around the house as much. So, and I appreciate that about men, but I definitely know that I'm usually the minority. I'm usually the only one. And it's kind of like, oh, here she go again. And it's all because she has boys is the excuse that other women give me.
Well, I'm going to bring you back, Joletta. Dr. O. McCoy, my dear friend, she thinks like you. You guys are like pariahs to a lot of women, but we ain't worried about them. We're going to liberate all the women that want to be liberated, and we appreciate your candor and your insight and your collaboration as it relates to empowering the Black family and the Black community. But just like Al Green said from Frustrated, we're going to liberate every one Black man at a time to help them men find peace, joy, and love. Because what women don't understand, when a man is around a true feminine woman, and when that vibration is high, oh my God, it's powerful. It's almost intoxicating. But we live in such a cesspool here in America that we don't even see it. And that's why our communities are dying. And that's why a lot of the men are not as productive as they should be. Now, listen, guys, while you guys are listening, please donate to Cash App to 7 Smalls. Get the likes up. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button, and send this show to brothers and sisters out as we're trying to have this collaboration to empower men. And once again, shout out to the lead attorney. Brother, I hope you're listening. At some point, we need to do a collaboration. We'll bring some of the brothers on, because this is a phenomenon that's going on in America called Post Brazillian Depression. Now, Todd made the cut. I want you to highlight what Ms. Johnson is saying. What's wrong with dating in America, and when did you go through your depression, Todd?
Well, when it comes to feminism has made women in America masculine. That's basically what feminism is doing, is making women believe that they should be getting what men get. Because the way I explain the feminine and the masculine is, the feminine is what we see, the earth, the communication, what is, right? The trees, the wind. That's what women express when the colors and the nails and the hair and the flowing and the shaking the bodies and all that. That's the feminine. The masculine is consciousness, residing in consciousness, focusing, determination, drive, which you need to forge ahead to achieve. So when you have a culture like, or a movement like feminism telling women they should go out there and work, is telling them to go and focus and be in their masculine. Mm-hmm. And when they do that and they come into and they get around men, and you have two masculine figures, you have a competition, because men aren't trying to be feminine. They're not trying to switch roles. Men don't want to be feminine. We're as boys, we're primed to be masculine by our competition, our sports, everything is making us masculine because we have to survive. You know, I speak to women, they say, one of the things you hear women say is, men should be into their emotions like women are. They should be communicating like men. But it's like, you have to think about us as a species, okay? We've been around for 300,000 years. This whole changing roles is something that's so brand new to us in our existence as a species. It is super foreign. And we can't switch things like that, because how we relate to each other, we're not separate. We're the same species. We can't move without each other. We can't operate without each other. Men can't leave and not have women. And that's why men are going to other countries. They have to have women. We have to have feminine. We have to have that feminine energy. We need it. And the feminine has to have masculine to be able to be feminine. Mm-hmm. It is the masculine energy that allows that allows women to be able to be so free, because otherwise a lion will come on and attack them. Mm-hmm. Right? But that's what will happen. They'll starve. Like that's what the masculine does. So when you have a culture where you're pushing women to be more masculine, now we have a lot of men who are confused. They're taking steps back. They're becoming more feminine because they're trying to open up the lane for women. You know, and what happens is you get into relationships and you have these things 50-50 and all these things. But that's not how the way relationships work. The way the relationships work is the man is the one who goes for it. The man is the one who has the mission and goals in life. He's the one who can forge ahead because he can't have kids. He doesn't have periods. He doesn't have anything that slows him down. He can be great with just by himself without a family, right? So in order for a woman to fulfill the duty that nature put upon her body, she has to be with a man. She has to, up until very recently, you can't get pregnant by yourself. Mm-hmm. And up until recently, you can't support a child by yourself. You know, for all of our existence as a species, the man and woman had to be together in order for the child to survive. Because if the woman died in childbirth, chances are the kid is going to die. How the kid going to eat? The woman has the feeding apparatus on her chest. How is the kid going to eat? How is the man going to take care of a kid when he has to hunt? Mm-hmm. He can't. Both of them will die. So that's why men have this need to protect women, because it's through them that life comes through. So we have to protect them. Right. And when you have this situation in our country where you have racism, okay, racism has destroyed Black masculinity. Because what racism really is basically you have one group that controls everything. And they use that control. They control the media, the money, the laws, the medicine, the privileges, you know, all the jobs, all of that. They control everything, and they use that control to exploit and exclude, right? You can't, you even if you want to get a great education, you got to go to their schools. They can say you can't get an education. That's what racism is. Mm-hmm. So because you have racism, they can use that power to take away economic prosperity from a Black neighborhood. They can move the factories to the suburbs. And now, how does a Black man feed himself? How does he feed his family? Right? He either have to tap dance for the white man, or he has to pump in the drugs and all that stuff, the crime and all that. And the Black woman can't respect. The Black woman can't respect a man who's not supporting. Right. So now you throw racism in there, it makes it more challenging and difficult. Now you have the woman being more masculine. She's trying to support and everything else. And it's not the women's fault. These conditions weren't their fault. They didn't bring them up. They're adapting to it as well. You know, so now you have this situation, and now you have this competitiveness, because now we're competing. Because a lot of Black women have never had a male figure in their life until they start dating men. Mm-hmm. They weren't raised by men because their dads were in jail. Their dads were out there drinking because he's trying to cope with the what's going on in the world. Like, a lot of women don't really understand what men go through in this country. They don't. Okay, especially Black men. We're like behind enemy lines trying to survive. Right. You know, so you have that situation going on, and you have the men and women fighting each other. But the way it's supposed to work is the feminine is supposed to complement the masculine, mm-hmm. right? And that's the why when you go and think about it, if the women in America are more masculine than the women in other countries, what are the men in America missing? They're not being fed their daily dose of femininity. Right. So if they're not dealt their daily dose of femininity, how can they be their most masculine? How can they express their most masculine? It's very difficult to do that, because they got to start adding some femininity by being more feminine to add that femininity in their life. That's why they're sleeping around with all these different women. Mm-hmm. That's what ends up happening. So is a lot of stuff that's happening from when you bring it back to how we are as a species and just look at it like that, you'll start to see how things are starting to break down.
No doubt. Chris, tell me when you experienced depression. Maybe you did, maybe, you know, so much going on, but when did you experience pre-Brazilian depression? And then we're going to start talking about post-depression after Brazil, the real social phenomena. So when did you experience depression, Chris? When were you experiencing depression as a Black man in America?
All right, so y'all can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
All right, just make sure I'm having some issues with the internet over here. You know, I'm still overseas, so bear with me. I apologize. But so like I was saying, my issues with depression was more or less in the beginning, where I was coming out of marriage, and I was trying to figure out which way to go. Like I said, I was a young soldier, experiencing that lifestyle, feeling like I kind of had to be married to be better, which that is definitely the narrative that they push when you come up as a young soldier. And you know, my marriage wasn't the greatest. You know, it was rough here and there, but after I got out of it, I had to refine myself and figure out who I really was. And it was kind of a low time, because I could say I was pretty much kind of like lost. And it was tough trying to put my mental status, kind of put everything back together. And then I started learning about Charles Tyler and that whole movement of how he was going down different, you know, things that he was talking about. And I really started learning and getting into that knowledge. And as I got closer and closer to a better financial status, I eventually went to Brazil with the knowledge of everything I had learned. And wow, it was so eye-opening and changing to go to a place that was so different and uplifting. But like I said, though, it was crushing, because also on the backside, realizing how the mentality of how things were in the States is what really kind of just was the most surprising to me. And it was kind of just like, man, like, why does it have to be this way? And, you know, so many things that are kind of backwards and wrong in the Black community. It really speaks to how we're out of lockstep, or how out of step we are with our black women. You know what I'm saying? Like, it speaks volumes to how off we are, and the fact that brothers are having to go overseas to seek better options. It's just like, man, there's so much work that needs to be done. And I mean, I had my own opinions about, what we should be doing and stuff like that. But me, like I said a long time ago, I voted with my feet. For me, I am SRSBN for a reason, because that is my decision. That is my way of dealing with the problem. And going to different places, experiencing different things, and realizing how valuable I am, you know what I mean, and how valuable we brothers are, and because we're not taught to travel, we're not taught to have that mindset. I mean, as soon as you get ready to go somewhere, your own brothers will try to tell you, oh man, don't go there, they're gonna do this to you, they're gonna do that to you, you don't know nothing about those people. You could be like, well, bro, what am I gonna get staying here? Because the longer I stay here, I got to play by the rules of this place. I got to play by the rules. So it just, to me, I don't, because there's some people who just want to sit around and just complain about stuff, but they don't want to do nothing. They don't want to get nothing done. And I'm about, taking care of problems. I'm solution oriented. So I'm trying to come up with a solution. I understand all the problems. I hear all the brothers' issues, but what can we do to get it done? And me, and in my experience, that's why SBN has been that answer. So,
Brother Eric Spencer, once again, you're a distinguished gentleman, federal government work was in the Air Force. You would be considered a high value man to a lot of women. What was it about Brazil that gave you depression? I'm sure you're dealing with it now.
Yeah, I'm over my latest bout. Got up off the couch and whatnot. But like I said, 2017, that was my first trip. The late great Charles Tyler was still alive, and he was the intro to Brazil. And you get there, and like I said, you're socialized here. Your energy is here. You've been imprinted, whatever you want to call it, programmed or whatever. When you hit Brazil, it's different. And a lot of people don't really get it until they go. Just like when I had a conversation with you, I was telling you, you're going to have these feelings when you leave. And you kept joking about it and saying, oh, yeah, you exaggerating. But as now you can see, I was on point, So you get there and you're immersed in this different culture, this different energy. And the thing about Brazil is they're totally opposite of the United States. They're very open. They're very outgoing. They sit outside and they talk to each other. They're bars, that they're more connected. And you feel that connectiveness versus being here in the States where everybody's the individual, everybody stays in the house, everybody has their certain clique or group of people. They don't want to talk to you unless you this status or that status or whatnot. Versus there, you have more people that are connected, open, and when you come into that, it's overwhelming. And a lot of guys, especially black men, you've been deprived of it. So when you go there and you get that experience and you have to leave, it can be emotional because most men, especially black men in America, are not used to having that type of feeling. And was said earlier before, yes, it is women there, but women aren't the whole entire thing. They're just the icing on the cake. It's the culture, it's the people, it's just the energy around those people. And when you go and have an experience for a long period of time and you have to come back to the States, it gets depressing. And I even take it one step further. Going one time, you just get the experience. You start going multiple times, now you start seeing opportunities. You start seeing yourself, I can live here. I can be married here. I can be respected here and appreciated and loved and get what I'm missing here.
Right.
And the more times you have guys go, the harder it is for them to leave. You know, like I told you, we just got back, and I'm going to be honest, it was hard for me to leave this time around because of one, the brotherhood,
Right.
to see us being able to be in Brazil, and like I alluded to, it's like you're going through basic training. You got black men from all walks of life that came down here under the umbrella and were able to explore Brazil. Just a preview. We talking about a country that has over 220 million people in it.
Right.
You get a preview of that, a smidget of that, and you're hooked. And to see other black men go through that process and have that epiphany mid-trip, I mean, you know, it's gratifying, but it does have an effect on you because you know what you have to come back to, and it is real.
Well, you know, I'm gonna give a confession.
I already know. I heard.
I'm gonna give a confession. You know, I mean, I didn't think you guys were lying, but I'm like, okay, yeah, he may. I'm like, what? A lot of you not, man, because of the camaraderie, the brotherhood. A couple of days after, I start getting sad, man. I'm like, what's going on? You know, I'm like, why am I sad? You know, it was just a trip. But I start getting sad, man, because I don't think people can understand unless they're part of the music, the samba, the brotherhood, the kindness, the culture, the femininity, the beauty of the island, the topography, even some of the women. I mean, you really can't explain it. It's almost like what I call a glimpse of heaven. Once you go, you don't want to come back. And in America, even to the point, Dr. Neal, he up there bouncing, man. He look like a chess cat, man.
Look, let me, Dr. Neal, brother minister, he's a changed man.
He's a changed man, right?
Now I had a lot of conversation with Dr. Neal, one-on-ones and in group conversation and stuff. And like he told me, he said I had to process this. Now we're talking about a PhD. He had to process it because even he was overwhelmed by what he experienced.
Right.
And he told me, he said, Eric, I have to sit down. He said, because I don't understand what just happened with us these 8 days in Brazil. And I told him, I said, okay, well, just go ahead. Anytime you want to chop it up, let me know. And, next thing you know, 3 or 4 days later, he's on YouTube. And you could just see the exuberance in that video. And it's infectious, And like I said, unless you go, you don't know. So I can't explain it to you. But what I equate it to is that you are in the United States as a black man and you're seen less than.
Right.
You go to Brazil and they tell you, Americans tell you that they don't want you there in their country. But as you saw, it was just the opposite. So you see how people respond to you. You see how they looked at us. You see how they treated us when we went into establishments and whatnot. And even our last night at the club. I mean, dude dropped 20 grand. We didn't know him.
Right.
So how many brothers are you going to be able to tell, I went to Brazil, went to a club, and this billionaire dropped 20 grand and put signs up to my American friends? But they're going to tell you they don't want nothing to do with you. They don't want you there. How are you going to compete with that? Because I've seen it. You've seen it. Chris, you've seen it. So you're lying to me. And not saying that that's going to happen, but what I'm saying is it epitomizes how they really feel about you. Right. And there's so many different more dynamics that we could go into, but you can't explain that to people that are there. It was the racism thing was brought up, but you don't understand the dynamics in their culture because a lot of the Afro-Brazilian women are told that they're not attractive because of their skin color. Right. So when you come as a black man, there's a hierarchy there. And when we come there, we're at the top of that hierarchy. And when we're there, we're changing the culture. We're representatives. That's why when I told you guys at the dinner, look, they're watching. because they want to know what these black men are, who they are, and what they're doing. And when we come in and we are the way that we are, they gravitate towards us because we have that masculinity. It's just now you're in an environment where you can express it without being penalized.
Right. I totally agree. Miss Johnson, when you hear this collaboration, why is femininity so important to the psyche of a man from your intrinsic knowledge as a woman? Why is femininity so important to the psyche of a man from your intrinsic knowledge of a woman? And how has femininity increased, as a double question, how has femininity increased the relationship in a positive way with your husband? It's a loaded question. Loaded question.
I guess I'll start with the latter. I guess femininity with my husband, because he's dated different women and all, and so he's just been like, oh wow, that's just so nice how you did that. It's just certain rules that I have that I didn't think anything about it because that's just how I've always been. But he's told me like my whole thing is if I'm cooking, I never believe a man should serve himself out of a pot. Now, if you're going to make your own plate, it's going to be on serving dishes. And so he's like, that is so nice how you always do that. And so you think that they don't notice that, but especially for black men, I mean, they get beat up so bad in the world.
Say it again.
So it's
You're right.
like to come home and to be treated with respect and as a man, so you can be comfortable in your manhood. And I don't know how many American men, no matter what color they are, they're not comfortable being men in their complete masculinity, because now what they call it, the toxic masculinity.
Right.
Even before that, it was always like, if you're masculine, there was a problem. And I've never been to Brazil, but I was in Puerto Rico and I couldn't figure out, there was something about the men. I'm like, there's something about these men. And one of my friends is Puerto Rican and she was like, I don't know. And I finally figured it out. I said, they're comfortable being men.
Right.
And they don't have to apologize for being a man. They don't need to be fixed because they're a man. And I think for my husband, he appreciates it because he's experienced other things in his life. And because we're remarried, and he appreciates it. And I guess from what he says, he likes coming home. He likes coming home. He works hard. So it's nice that when he comes home, I do ask, what do you want? Well, you want something to drink? You want something to eat? And he's like, he loves that. So he says, he's used to more of that hostility, or I'm working too, why you asking me? So, and he's told me that's what he has run into before. So I think he could be comfortable being a man and he doesn't have to apologize.
Right.
And I think for me, and I love being a woman. If I died and had to come back a million times, I'd want to come back as a woman. I mean, I enjoy being a woman. So I don't look at men as there's no battle. There's no power struggle. And so I think that's one thing that I would say. I got married the first time very young, and there was that power struggle because I was coming from my mother's mindset in that emasculating men or being more, I had the feminine traits of just certain, how to keep your house, how to cook for your man, how to make sure his clothes are ironed and put away and all that stuff. I was taught all that because my mother believed in that stuff. Take care of your man. Always make sure that man's house is clean. You have food for him. So I was used to that part, but I still saw a lot of disrespect.
Right.
And so I had to relearn that you don't disrespect men. And I asked my ex-husband before I got married, and I said, what is it would you say about me was the biggest fault I had? And he said, he said two things, but one that I will share was, you better watch your mouth, girl. And after that, but he always said, everything else about you is good. He said, but when you get mad. And I had to learn. Some of it was youth, but also it's like I learned from being around women who talk to men crazy. And I had to really learn, like, no, you cannot talk to me in that way, especially black men. They're going through a lot. They are going through a lot. Their manhood is challenged when they go buy paint at the hardware store. Right. And it's just little things that we have accepted that is just part of life. And I think it's like once you get removed from that, maybe when these men go to Brazil and for the first time they get removed from all of that, the racism, the whole thing about, you know, with men, the toxic masculinity, where I could just, it's kind of like a lion being able to go out to the jungle. This is how I'm supposed to be, not caged up, hiding my masculinity. I can be who I was meant to be in my natural state.
And, you know, as we're moving on, what you're saying is powerful. I'm going to ask you another question, Ms. Johnson, about calibrating your femininity. Listen, guys, I don't know how many guys are watching, but get the likes up. If you like what I'm doing as a clinical therapist, please like, share, subscribe. But if you really like what I'm doing, please cash out 7 Smalls. That's $7 Smalls. Cash out to this program. Let me know that you appreciate what we're doing. These shows are timely, and it's going to help inspire men to go abroad and get their needs met. Groups that were started, that's been facilitated by brothers like Brother Eric Spencer with BMO, me, myself, a clinical therapist, input from a man, Ty Maynard Cutler, and also this beautiful lady, Miss Johnson, give her input as a feminine woman. So please like, share, and subscribe, and donate to Cash App 7 Smalls, and help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers at some point. I want to get there because I want to empower as many men as I can. So back to you, Miss Johnson. Back to you. How did you recalibrate your femininity? And are single women keeping other women single?
Oh, yes, they definitely are. I've literally did a lot of studying, research, therapy. I have I've read a lot of books. And like I said, the part of table setting and the home part, I was always taught by my mother and grandmothers. But that disrespect, just in reading and doing my own research and listening to men. I was in 2 discussion groups. This was before the internet came out. So we met face to face. It would be men and women. And I noticed the men could never talk.
Right.
And if they start to talk, women would always overtalk them. And it's like, I mean, I had to fight to tell women, let them talk, let him say what he's about to say. And it was like, they couldn't do it. And I've seen it. I am an administrator at a high school, and I've seen it even with Black boys. It doesn't matter if it's men or women. When we give a boy a chance to talk, someone always ends up over talking him. So it's so natural in how we disrespect the Black male in America. It's so second nature that we don't even recognize it. So I think just listening and watching married women, and honestly, I have to say, watching married women from other races and just friending them and seeing their different attitude towards their men. And even times when I was dating, talking to friends who weren't Black, their perspective was so different. They would be excited if you met someone and not like, where you know him from? Yeah, you better check him out. It's always this suspicion and hostility. So definitely single women keep other single women. I mean, they definitely keep them single. I've tried to tell my friends that they don't see it, or they don't know how. This is what I think when I look at some of my friends. Hope they never see this. They don't know how bad they are at dating.
Right.
They don't know how bad they are at dating. They realize, I mean, they can have a PhD, but I tell you, they have a kindergarten education when it comes to men. But I think of this, some of them have never interacted with men outside of on some sexual level. They didn't have a father, so they don't know the love of a man outside of a man who wants to bed you.
Right.
So, and so I look at all of that, but there is some women who are really, really bad at dating. They just don't know what to do. They bring that masculine energy, and talking to them doesn't help. Because I even said, one of my friends said, I don't have any plates. I eat off of paper plates. And I'm like, you would serve a man on a paper plate? I said, I would never serve a husband on a paper plate.
Right.
I want to be at a cookout. And they're like, oh my God, I don't want to do those dishes. And I'm like, I'm shocked. It blew my mind that
right.
you're upper income, high education, and to me, and you would serve I said, so you would serve a steak on a paper plate. And they're like, yeah, unless he's gonna do the dishes. Once again, it's that hostility. It's like you don't enjoy being a woman.
No, you're right. You're right. And then JJ, I'm gonna let you come in a minute, brother. JJ Diesel Cowboy. I want you to chop it up with the brothers. Thanks for joining us. But what it is I think it's the lack of seeing masculine men. I call it, in the clinical term, we call it nature versus nurture. So you're talking about the intrinsic nature of a man, but also you're talking about the socialization as well. And I think because a lot of our women haven't seen strong masculine fathers in their home, they have a natural contempt for men. Because, if you think about it, Eric Spencer didn't write policies to oppress women. Tom Maynard Cutler didn't do it. I sure as hell didn't write no policies to oppress women. And Gene and my man, JJ Cowboy, we didn't oppress policies. But we got the brunt of everything. Everything is a man's fault. Everything is a man's fault. I mean, it's nothing you can ever do. And so what's happening, these men are divesting. And I'm telling you, I did this as a clinical therapist, Ms. Johnson, because most therapists won't even touch this subject. They'll run away from it because it's not PC. JJ Cowboy, tell the people who you are. And what's your take on, give us 3 to 5 adjectives or nouns as it relates to relationships and dating in America. Adjectives or nouns.
Entitlement, the Eve culture, the selfishness and the hypocrisy.
Okay. You're breaking up, brother. You're breaking up.
Okay. About now.
Yeah. Can you repeat that? You said entitlement, selfishness, the Eve culture. What else?
The government, because they can get stuff from them, and selfishness.
Right. Okay. So what do you want to add to the collaboration? Have you been depressed with the malaise that you currently see in relationships, and how's it impacted your mind as a Black man in America?
It's a gauntlet. It's a war zone. And I'm a truck driver, and I get on that CB, and sometimes I get frustrated, but I'll use that energy to say something on the CB like, I know what the problem is with this traffic. Look at who raised all these people that's grown out here acting like this. I get real deep with it. Look who raised these people that's grown in society acting like this, and they're gonna raise more acting like this, or even worse, from generation to generation. Because when I was a child back in the 80s, things were nothing like it is now, as far as this bad is concerned.
Right.
Not even close.
Right. Do you think it's a lack of femininity, or do you think it's a lack of men being masculine and demanding respect? What do you think it is?
I think it's a little of both.
Did you see the lack of that as a child growing up? Was your dad a masculine man, or was your mom overbearing as it relates to her father, to your dad?
My dad put his foot down, and they're divorced now. They're both still living. Me and my mom don't talk. It's a long list of reasons why me and her don't talk, and pretty much her side of the family. But me and my dad was always pretty close.
Right.
We went to Memphis today, and we went to this Western store. We like to, dress up sometime. Frontier Western on Goodman Road and Olive Branch. That's a good place. We just go different places to do stuff together.
Okay. So you go by the name JJ Diesel Cowboy, and then I'm gonna bring Gene Davis in. What does that name mean to you? You say it's self-explanatory. Explain to the audience what does JJ Diesel Cowboy Monk means. What does that mean?
Excuse me. Well, part of my name is in there. It's spelled out Smith. That's my last name, and my first name is, and I just, I'm a truck driver. That's the diesel part, and then the way I carry myself, that's the cowboy part. And 79 is my year I was born.
Right. Okay. Cool. All right, Gene Davis. Thank you, brother. And just say, listen,
Yes, sir.
mute your sister. When you think, give me 5 to 6, give me 3 to 5 adjectives or nouns that come to mind, Gene, when you think about dating in America and modern relationships. What 3 to 5 adjectives come to mind, or nouns?
Delusional, toxic, hypocritical, double standards, masculinity, belligerence, combativeness. I mean, man, it could go on and on. It's never ending. The negative, things that you could say about dating right now. But I forget her name. When she was speaking, you made me think of something. Okay, so back in the mid 90s, I had a friend, and his name was Cliff. And this guy, he used to go to Brazil all the time. And he was like my gym buddy. We used to talk. And this guy wouldn't date anyone here. And I was like, why? And he was like, man, you just gotta go. You just gotta go. And I don't know where he is at now, but I remember back in the 90s, this guy, and he would tell me stories of guys crying, coming back on the plane. And I mean, all the stuff that you're talking about, it just crossed my mind now. Right. But in my own personal life, like I've told you this. Okay, so my father has 15 brothers, right? And the men in my father's family are like hella masculine. So they were the men of the house in their homes. And my mother and father split up when I was 3 years old, but my dad was always around. And my mother was raised by her father because my grandmother left my grandfather with 6 kids. She took 1 kid with her to New York and she left the rest in Alabama. And my grandfather raised my mother and her siblings on a farm in Alabama. So my mother had mucho respect for men because of her father. And I can remember, from being a young man up until I was an adult, the way my mother and my sisters treated me, other Black women would get upset about it. The respect that they showed me, they would get upset. If they fixed my plate or anything like that, they would get upset. Like they were always trying to tell they were scared of my mother, but they would try to tell my sisters and stuff or suggest to my mother, like, why do you treat them like that? Why do you treat your sons like that? But so, I mean, and I say all this to say that my experience is the polar opposite of most Black men in America. And so, the type of behavior, like she was talking about, like I've never tolerated that. Women don't even come at me that way because it's just not going to happen. I'm not taking it. There's just no way. I've never been treated like that, and I don't tolerate that type of behavior. But a lot of it is just this is what I feel in the upbringing. Women can sense your energy, whether or not you're going to, because even though I've been around loads of Black women who behave this way, they don't behave like that with me. They just stay away from me.
Right.
They stay away from me. They avoid me like the plague. And I'm the one if there's a confrontation, I'm initiating it. They're not coming in my face. They're not running their mouth. They're not doing any of that with me. They avoid me. So a lot of men have been conditioned to take this abuse. And women, it's like if you're a snake, you know a mouse when you see one. You know a mouse when you see one. You know whatever your prey is, you know it when you see it. And a lot of guys, they don't realize, like, their whole energy, they're letting women know that they're, these simps. These guys are afraid of women. Their mothers have taught them to pedestalize women. Their mothers have turned them into the simps that they wanted men to be when they were younger. They got these guys bending over backwards and doing things for women that they wish was done for them. And that's just not the way you raise a man. And like I said, I had 15 uncles on my father's side alone. And I saw how they moved. I saw how my father moved. Like my mother, no matter how upset she got, if my father was like, this is it. I mean, she could do, somersaults and backflips. He wasn't even going to argue. He just wasn't changing his mind. And then when she would get upset, he would come and make excuses for her. He would be like, "Oh, your mom is just upset because, you know, I won't do this or I don't do," like he would apologize for her being angry to us, but he wouldn't budge an inch, no matter what she said. So, you know, like I said, I've had a completely different experience from the average black guy. And then too, you know all of this, but I'll say this and then I'll pass it on to someone else. I grew up on Long Island. So I moved to Long Island when I was like 12 years old. And when I started hanging out, black girls would know, even though I was an athlete, I was like a nerd, and black girls would ignore me. And then when I started hanging out on Long Island, there's a lot of places, you know, I worked in this roller rink, predominantly white. And I went there and immediately I was like a god. You know, I'm tall, I'm ripped. I was a very good skater, very athletic guy. And it was just like, it's like I discovered a new me, a guy that I started taking home ec because I thought nobody would ever marry me and I would have to be able to take care of myself. And I was like, I got to get an education because I'm going to have a surrogate mother, you know, for my child, because nobody's going to marry me or have my kid. Like, this is what I was thinking. This is how much, like, the black girls were all about the thugs and the bad boys and stuff. And so I thought I was going to be alone. And I went to this roller rink, and I'm telling you, it was just like people, we're talking about Brazil, but I'm telling you right here in the United States, you can go in other communities as a black man and women will be all over you, all over you. And that changed my whole life, man. Like, my whole perspective of myself changed. And when I started having some of these women come to my games and stuff, then the black girls started paying me way more attention.
Right. That's powerful. Eric, I want you to piggyback on what Gina said. Keep that locked in your head about how black men are celebrated in other parts of the world, because you're well-traveled. Thailand, Brazil. I think the guys are going to Africa soon. But Ms. Johnson, when you hear Gene Davis talk about the misgivings of black men in America, how do you challenge the women to at least think about what men are saying? And then, do you get a lot of pushback for trying to advocate for black men and boys?
I get complete pushback. I don't have a partner amongst black women. I mean, I get complete, like you said, there's no black woman who says, yes, you're right. They can always, I even said something about black women being overweight. Well, it's black men's fault. What? And it's black men's fault because these are professional women. These are women who carry themselves well. Well, because if they wouldn't sleep with heavier black women, then black women would take care of themselves better. And I mean, I'm constantly, no matter what I say, it's always a black man's fault. And these are from black women who want black men and date black men. Some of them have given birth to black males. And it's just, so I get complete pushback to the point where if I'm with a group of black women and I am advocating for black men, sometimes they come so hard and think that, and it's definitely online, they come at you hard and say that you hate yourself, because obviously you hate yourself because you love black men. And I just think, so it's a lonely place. And oftentimes that's why I probably talk to other black men about it online, because they're just, my husband and I, we talk about it. And he has been able to see with me, even talking about it with him, some of the behavior he has tolerated in the past.
Right.
Just me bringing things up to him. And he's just like, I never thought about, like, I've been called out of my name before. And I'm like, you can have a discussion, an argument without calling someone out of their name. And he said, but that was such a norm for me. I didn't even think about it. That was just how I was always treated in a previous relationship, where the person would get mad and call you, a MF or call you the N-word. And I'm like, that's not how it should go. Nobody, I'm like, and I can argue, but I'm not going to call you out of your name. There's still a certain level of respect that our men are so used. And I think someone has said it, they're conditioned, they're used to not getting that.
Yes, they're
They
used
are.
to it. And I
They
think
are.
that's why it's so intoxicating and it's so befuddling when a man goes outside the confines of America. It's almost like you're in the femininity chamber. Eric Spencer, I want you to piggyback on what Gene was talking about, how black men are celebrated abroad. You travel to Thailand, you travel to Brazil, you've been all over the world. How are black men celebrated across the diaspora and different countries in the world? I want you to tell the audience.
Okay, so let me give you my perspective.
Okay, go ahead, brother.
African American black men are celebrated. So much so that you have Africans wanting to be African American men in these other countries. I've seen it in Thailand. I've seen it in Brazil. I've seen it in other countries. They want to emulate us because we are the standard. And I know a lot of black men don't believe that because they're here and they've been told other things. But I could just name countless countries, Germany, really any place overseas, because they identify with us. And with the advent of the internet, it's even more so because they're curious about us and they want to know, are you really like what we see on TV? And when they see you in person, it's like, no, you're totally different. And it's like, we've been socialized here to be more accommodating versus what they're used to in their countries. And it's for black men going overseas, it can be overwhelming because you're not used to it here. And just like Ms. Johnson was saying, the combativeness, it's like, you want to talk about toxic masculinity? I would say that the definition of that is a masculine frame and a feminine body, because it's not natural, and you do have that presence. You have a lot of people, black people, that are in relationships, but you don't love each other because you're competing with your man, versus you going overseas and women are just, they're in awe of you. And it's not like they're worshiping you or anything like that. But on the flip side, they haven't met a man like you either. They see us on TV, they emulate our styles, our fashion, our music, and to see a black American male in person, to them, it's like you being a superstar. Right. And for us, that treatment is alien to us. It really is. And it's not like, okay, yeah, we're just, they only want you for sex. No. I mean, yes, but not just that too. There's more to it. There is a difference between us and other men of color throughout the world because of the stuff that we have endured, because of the energy that we give off, because of our nurturing nature, because of us being socialized in this country. And to them, it's intoxicating to be connected to you.
Right.
And if you want to flip it and take it in another direction, the high value, okay, you're talking about on a global scale, the average person doesn't make more than maybe $12,000
right
USD. If you're an African American male that can afford to travel, you walk into a lot of these countries, you are already at the top of the food chain. Okay, maybe you're not so-called high value here in the States. Okay, well then I'm gonna shop in another store, and guess what? Now I'm at the top of the food chain.
Right.
So when you step into these other countries, you're like the perfect package. And if you're a man that focuses on, self-improvement and being a worldly person and outgoing and curious about cultures and different things, dude, you're gonna clean up because they never seen anything like you before.
Right.
I mean, I've literally been in Thailand where you had women fighting over who gonna talk to what black dude. And don't let you be a black dude that has dreads or anything like that. Oh my God, dude, it's like, damn, they go crazy. I've seen it. So, and you can't tell brothers this here because they don't think it exists. They think you're exaggerating, or, you hear the shaming tactics, oh, you hate your mama, oh, they're not black women, and blah, 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 and all the other stuff. And, I tell the story about my experience at Essence in 2019. you know, I had a conversation with 2 Black women at Essence, and their comment was, we should have something like this for Black men. And I told her, I said, you can't have anything like this for Black men. I said, you have a 3-day conference where you tell Black men to worry about themselves, only focus on themselves, and don't give a damn about anybody else. You're going to have major pushback. And in that conversation, a long story short, that woman was so upset when I told her. I said, I'm off the dating market. I said, my wife come from Brazil.
Wow.
I said, Brazil, ding, ding. That woman literally walked me from the bar out to the lounge area and was arguing with me. And she got to the point where she got so close up on me. And I told her, I said, you just proved my point. I said, you felt comfortable enough to walk up on me as a stranger and get in my face. I said, if you were the man, I would have knocked your ass out.
Right.
But because you were so comfortable being in a masculine frame and not listening to what I have to say and were triggered, you walked up on me.
Right.
And this was a woman, she was in her 50s. And I'm telling you, I'm like, the disrespect is real. And unfortunately, we're at a point where there's nothing you can really do about it.
Right.
Hold on. I'm just going to let me get this out and I'm done.
No, you're right. I'm listening.
Brothers are tired. Brothers are tired. They're tired of trying to be accommodating. They're tired of trying to be mindful and work with you. And now with the internet, the hypocrisy is on display, and brothers are watching. And see, it's not going to be the people that are on YouTube and doing this and promoting stuff. Brothers are just going to moonwalk away in silence, and they're going to be gone.
Right.
You're going to start, and you're seeing that more and more. So the Black community, I've already said it before, it's dead. Why? Because you have to have families, you have to have unity, you have to have community to prosper. And we don't have that. And Black men that have been told that it's raining are tired of getting pissed on in the face. They're done with it. And it's disappointing because we want to be husbands. We want to be fathers. We want to build up our communities and stuff. But it's hard when you have to fight out in the streets and then you got to come home and fight.
Right.
Yeah.
And brothers are tired.
Right.
A lot of brothers aren't going to come out and say it. And I can respect them for that. But in the Black man's option, you talk to these brothers. I talk to hundreds of brothers that say they're just done. They've either been through the meat wringer with the child support and the alimony. They've been neglected by financially, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And there's no help in sight. And these are supposed to be our women. These are supposed to be people we're supposed to build for. No, the juice ain't worth the squeeze.
No doubt. No doubt. Todd made a cut. I want to ask you a question. And Eric, excellent expose. Thank you, brother. I love your insight. When was the last time you had peace in the relationship? And what did it do to your psyche as a man? When was the last time that Todd made a cut had peace in the relationship? And then we're going to go to Chris, and then we're going to go to JJ Cowboy, and then back to Gene. Go ahead, brother. When was the last time you had peace in the relationship?
I have peace in my relationships now. Like I said, what I do is I help guys get out of toxic relationships. I help them move on from betrayal relationships, and so I coach them out of it. What ends up happening is when you're going through a relationship where it went down, your wife cheated on you, or whatever the case, you broke up. The first thing a man has to gain is some emotional control, so that he's not trying to get her back, trying to do for her, trying to the emotional control of losing that relationship that died. Once he gains that emotional control, he has to understand the nature of women. He has to understand why it happened, what he was doing to influence those behaviors, and how women's true nature, not how the church teaches us, not how we believe and how we want them to be, based on the evidence, right? Their true nature. And then he has to build himself up as a man again. Once a man builds himself up and he's focused on his path and where he's going, and that's the most important thing to him, he can hold his boundaries. Once you hold your boundaries, you won't tolerate negative behavior, because as a man, your goal is to forge a path. Your life is supposed to be dedicated to helping humanity in some way. That's why we always have to win. That's why men are competitive. We like to win. We like to forge ahead. We like to succeed. Right now, any of us could roll up a piece of paper and shoot it in the nearest basket. And if we hit that basket, we're going to feel a sense of pride in that. We have to always win on a daily basis, right? So when a man is focused on that, he doesn't tolerate poor behavior from women, then he gets happiness, right? And once he understands how the woman is supposed to operate in his life, she's supposed to be there to support him. That's what the feminine does. That's why women fit us like a puzzle piece, like a perfect puzzle piece when things are done right. Right. When you're in your masculine, she's in her feminine, it's like a perfect puzzle piece. Black men would succeed so much more if black women were on our side, if they were there for us, if they understood how to be on our side. But they don't understand how to. A lot of them don't know how to. And it's required from the men. So men going overseas and experiencing this, they're getting a chance to see what it really is, what they can experience, what's possible, right? There's an analogy that the late great Patrice O'Neill once said. I heard him in a radio interview while he was still alive, and he said that he was a comedian, and he has this great take on women and relationships. And one of the things he said is when men go to Brazil and they go to these places and they start to experience feminine women, it's almost like Clark Kent realizing that he's actually Superman. Because when Clark Kent is on Krypton, he can't fly. He can't fly on Krypton, right? He can't go anywhere. He's a regular person on Krypton. Right. So when he comes to America, he's dating somebody like Lois Lane, right? Lois Lane. She's a regular person. She's nobody. But yet, once the black man goes to Brazil and he realizes how much he's cherished, he comes back to America. He realizes that he is capable of being Superman, right? And he can succeed, and that's what black men need. So I'm a person who I recommend that all men experience that. But the thing is, in order for us to get from underneath this racism in this country, we have to come together as a unit. We have to come together and build families, because in order for us to get out of this, we have to build communities. Black men have to come together and build communities and have industries together. We can't have that unless we have solid families. Right, so it's extremely important for us to figure this out. Yeah, we can go to other countries and get other women, but really, black women are our pool. They're our women. We got to pick from that pool of women. And even though there's issues when it comes to us coming together, anytime we have issues when it comes together, it's really the men forging together and holding their ground. We hold your ground. You don't tolerate bad behavior. Then the women either cut it out, or they have to go.
JJ, mute your mic. Mute your mic, JJ. Well, listen, I'll say this to piggyback on what Eric's saying. Black women are not just limited to the confines of America. Black women are from the diaspora. They're abroad. There are many black Brazilians. And so if a man chooses to deal with a black women in America, then more power to him. But if a man want to exercise his option to get a wife outside of America, then more power to him as well. I don't think black men should limit themselves to women in America. I'm not against them dealing with American women, but I think a large majority of women, I mean, Miss Johnson is a prime example. I brought her on this show to be a buffer, because if I had all men, they say, oh, they hate women. That's the only goofy thing you hear. They hate women. You bashing black women. There's so many of our women are so infantile and so immature. So I brought a sister on, a black woman that's been married to a black man, and she's getting pushed back. Iyanla Vanzant got pushed back. Monique got pushed back. So if these women that consider elders are getting pushed back, what do you think? What the hell do you think they're going to do to you and I as men? When was the last time that Chris Strongheart had peace in American relationships? American relationships. And then hold on, Chris. And after you tell us the last time you had peace, Miss Johnson, I want you to go back in time. You and I are probably close to the same age. I'm class of 90, high school. So, you got that 90 swag. But
I'm in the 80s. I'm older than you.
Oh, really? The 80s. Oh, you must be with Harold Melvin, the Blue Note, Shalimar, Switch. But I want you to talk about what you saw as a transition to peace and relationships from the past. So back to you, Chris. When was the last time you had peace in an American relationship, not foreign? When was the last time, and how did you solve the problem?
Okay, last time I had peace in an American relationship. Um, yeah, about that. I can't even really give you much information on last time I had peace in an American relationship, man. Like, I mean, I haven't really been in that serious like since then. Like, since I broke away from, you know, dealing with the American mindset and what I was told that I had to be and had to think. I hadn't been in no serious American relationship, you know, just based off of what I've seen. And it's like it's almost like for me, it's like I know too much. I don't even have time to tolerate and deal with the nonsense because my brothers will call me, you know, and I'm hearing all this nonsense. I'm be completely honest. I'm still out here, and I have my brothers call me at least twice, 3 times a week dealing with some drama. My stepsister, you know, she going through some drama. I mean, it's just like it seemed like everybody, my best friend, my homeboy is dealing with relationship drama. It's like everybody's dealing with drama and they all coming to me asking me like, hey, big bro, we trying to figure it out, you know, what to do. I said, bro, I don't know what I can tell you very much. I can tell you buy a ticket, come to Brazil. That's about the best I can give you because I mean, I understand y'all dealing with all that, but I mean, it's like I have not personally been in a serious long-term situation in the States ever since I've been enlightened to all the options that we have had as black men, specifically traveling overseas and doing stuff like that. Ever since my trips out here to Rio, like I haven't even really been in the mind state to even, you know, look for anything serious. That's not even on my agenda right now. My mindset is on a whole different. I'm on building, and like Brother Eric said, you know, I'm on. When I come out here, I'm looking to find ways to build. You know, because I was talking to one of the other brothers out here about how how we could come together and build and put our money together and look at putting something together. How us brothers, how there's enough of us where we can get a condo out here for in the name of BMO or whatever brothers who traveling. We could get a street. You know what I mean? The Chinese do it, the Arab do it. And when the white guys travel, they do it. That's why they have their name on something everywhere they go. That's why they set up in our neighborhoods and put their names on it and stuff like that. It's because when they do stuff like this, their mind isn't on chasing the women and dealing with as many women as possible. Their mind is coming down here and seeing how many streets they can buy up.
Right.
They come down here on a purpose and on a mission and say, who can we talk? Who do we need to talk to about setting up shop on y'all's corner? That's the mindset of those guys. And for me, that's where my head has been. And I've been talking to the different brothers throughout BMO, a lot of the OGs, and speaking to them on more of the business mind state of what we can do to maintain this lifestyle. Because like I've been down here, this is my 5th trip. I've been down here, so I've seen it. I've got the shirts, you know what I mean? So I'm literally in a mind state of just like, well, what can we do to really come together and maintain this lifestyle and not have to look at it like, oh man, this time I'm going down here, I'm gonna go all out, I'm gonna do all this. Bro, slow down, you don't have to do all that. Because if your mind state was in a place of how can I maintain this? What can we do?
Right.
Because one of the biggest problems with brothers and why we don't have a lot of stuff in our name and why we're not in a place of selling our culture is because everybody is trying to be the top dog in our community, which is one of the issues we deal with. Too many brothers are trying to be that brother or that ninja. You know what I'm saying? To be the top dog and trying to because you're taught to, oh, if he looks like me, I got to be better than him. I got to be the best version of him. It's competition status between too many of us to where enough of us couldn't come together. And it's like out of the 30 brothers that we had, You couldn't tell me that enough of us couldn't put our bread together, or eventually, whenever the time is right, to sit down, have a deal, come up with a business plan, and say, okay, enough of us are going to come together, put our money in this pool, and we are going to start working on this one building right here, turn it into something to where other brothers who travel will come down. They'll already have a place. They'll have a whole building with different condos in it, to where all the BMO brothers is coming through and all in one spot. Or they can see, you don't even have to stay there, but you will see the work that's being done and see how serious it is and how much we're actually trying to build towards something. And it'll start from there. You know, the sky's the limit, and it's very possible. So to run it all back and answer your question, I ain't been focusing on relationship in the States, bro. I was gonna keep it 100 with you. Yeah, that's just why.
Right. Okay, cool. So, Miss Johnson, back to you. When did you see the evolution of relationships changing for the worse, based on your experience back in the 90s, in the 80s?
Well, I think I graduated from college in 91. And I think back then people would still go to college. You basically married whoever your college sweetheart, or maybe you went back and married your high school sweetheart. But by the time everyone was 24, 25, you were married, buying your first home. But I think growing up as a teenager, we were still in love with love because of the love songs. And you saw a change. And I don't know if you noticed, most women who sing slow songs, it's always about some drama with the man. It's always the man is no good. Now, you still hear men praise women and celebrate love with women. But most women are not celebrating love anymore. It's about the drama, and I'm going to get my, you don't know me and all. It's always drama and combativeness, even in our songs. So when I was growing up as a teenager, me and my girlfriends laying around on the bed, listening to love songs, falling in love with love, and just couldn't wait to get a guy so that we could be feeling this way that these love songs are talking about. And I saw when I was in college, because I got married in college, because I had my first child in college. And I remember when the first NWA album came out. And I told my husband then, I said, you know what? Oh, this is going to be a mess. Everybody's going to try to be a little gangbanger now. Everybody everywhere. I said, I would just listen to some of the lyrics because he was into it. And he was like, and he, even though he was from Brooklyn, New York, it was the first time hearing this West Coast rap. And it was just, I saw a change then. I saw the biggest change in our community between the introduction of crack, which I remember when crack came out. I saw a big change. That changed the whole landscape of the Black community. And when you try to explain to people what life was like before crack, they can't even get how the streets were even structured differently. And when crack came out, how they started putting roadblocks and things just changed in the parks and all. Playgrounds went away. So that type of hostility. And so we were just in our first generation of girls growing up without their father. Maybe about 50-50 when I was growing up. But more and more girls growing up without their fathers. And when women don't have men around, they become more masculine. Fathers are the ones that give you your femininity, not your mother.
Right.
And so I start noticing my friends who didn't have a father in their lives. Those would be my girlfriends that would wrestle each other. I just remember once looking at that. I was like 16 and I'm like, they're wrestling like boys. And I thought even then at 16, they don't have fathers.
Right.
So I start seeing it then. And then most of those girls start having babies out of wedlock. And so it's like we're now 3 generations deep of all these households without a man. And it's just gotten worse. So I think from the time my generation was that first generation that was raised without fathers. And it just got worse with then they made it mainstream in our music, the TV shows, and it just got worse and worse. So women, they were always talking about how you don't need a man, and Black women bought into it more than anyone. My mother's generation bought into that more than anyone else, that you didn't need a man. They were the first group of women to get the factory jobs that paid a lot of money so they were able to take care of their kids and themselves without that second income. And these were just high school educated women. So that's when I think the biggest change happened, because Black women really did buy into this hostility that you don't need a man, I can do bad all by myself. And it just became like a Black man was just a burden. He was only good for child support and giving you a baby. And it's just gotten worse. It's more open now. They just actually say it, but it was being practiced. It started to be practiced, I say, in the 60s and 70s. And then when we came along, it just, people didn't mind getting pregnant by the drug dealers, and the girls still don't. They're not, there's nobody thinking ahead of what is this going to look like 10, 15 years from now.
Right.
So
and
that's what I saw change in the 90s.
Right. And it appears that it's gotten worse. Gene Davis, when is the last time you had peace in an American relationship? And then we're going to talk about the sadness or the shame associated with men going to Brazil. So when's the last time, Gene, you've had peace in an American relationship?
An American relationship? All right. My ex-wife was Cuban, so that doesn't count.
Right.
The last time, I was in a relationship in, I think, 2012. German-American woman. That I had peace in that relationship. Unfortunately, she suffered from she was gluten intolerant and she did not know it. So, I mean, the way it manifested itself was very strange. She was depressed a lot. She didn't want to do anything. She would just like come home from work and sleep. Like this happened about 2 years into the relationship. And I took her to doctors and stuff like that. She really didn't want, she just was like so into her depression. She didn't want to do anything to change it. But anyway, so like a year later we broke up, and about a year and a half later, she all the stuff that I took her to do, she eventually got around to doing it. She got herself together, and she called me up and she apologized. And this woman was very instrumental in my daughter's, because she was the first person I dated after my divorce that I brought around my kid. And to this day, like, she has a relationship with my daughter. My ex-wife loves her. Like, she's my daughter just got into LaGuardia High School, one of the best performing arts high schools in the country. And this woman, her name is Jackie, she is going to be one of the contacts for my daughter, because LaGuardia is in the city and Jackie lives on 91st Street. LaGuardia is in the 60s. So me and Jackie are going to be like, the contacts from the school to if anything happens and someone needs to pick up my daughter. So this is the type of relationship I have with this woman. Like, even now, like, she's still a friend and she's still in my daughter's life. Now, every African-American woman that I dated in that time period, none of them are in my daughter's life. I won't say that I'm not, there's a couple of them that I don't speak, well, they don't speak to me, because if they can't have the relationship, then some women, they just want to cut you off. But that's actually the only relationship with an American woman. I haven't had a lot of relationships with American women. Most of my significant relationships have been with foreign women. My ex-wife is Cuban. I've had a woman from England who actually lived in England, Amsterdam. Like, I haven't had a lot of relationships with American women, but I can't, this is the only one I can say that I actually had some peace. And all the rest were just like a power struggle. Like, a lot of these women, the only time they're submissive and agreeable is in bed. Once the orgasm wears off, they're back in combat mode. And it's like a vicious cycle. It just never ends. Once that orgasm wears off, they're your adversary all over again. It gets tired.
When you hear this, Ms. Johnson, is there hope for relationships in modern America? And then, Ty, we're going to piggyback on you talking about what you've seen as well. Is there hope for modern relationships in America, Ms. Johnson?
Hopefully with the younger women. I think the women my age and maybe in their 40s, no. There's no hope. I try to talk to them, and it's like I'm speaking a different language. Hopefully, some of the younger girls, I think, because they're listening to men have a voice on the internet now where they never did.
Right.
So they're beginning to listen. But I see a lot of them straight ahead into their career. All they're thinking about is career and education. But maybe I'll say you'll probably get a 10% more women who will be able to work with the man and understand how to work in a relationship, because men didn't have a voice when I was growing up. And now with the internet, they do. So I do think with the younger girls, and I met a young man last night. He was 39 years old. And I told him, I said, get you a younger woman. He's established. And I said, get you a younger woman, somebody 25, 26, you can have babies with. And there was an older woman there, which I didn't pick up on it at first. And she was like, he need an older woman. And she had a mouth like a sailor. I know what he need. I know what he wants. Then I finally figured out when I told one of my girlfriends, I said, oh, she messes with him. I didn't figure that out at first, but because she got so upset with me when I was telling him, you get your younger woman, you know, have babies with your wife, get somebody who had a father, don't get anybody. And my other girlfriend said, yeah, do not get a girl who didn't have a father, because that's going to bring in a whole lot more problems. And that woman was yelling and screaming. And I'm like, I didn't know what her problem was, but now it's like, oh, she's messed with him. She's like, I know what he needs. I know his needs. And I was like, and she, you know, so of course I just backed away. But yeah, I don't think women in their 40s and 50s, nope. Like they, that one guy says, get a dog and die alone.
Yes.
That's them. I hate to say it. And I mean, I love my girlfriends, but I just don't see it happening. So yeah, young girls, there's hope.
Right. When you know, Eric and Chris and you guys have traveled to Brazil a lot. You know, why do you think you guys are so sad? What is the sadness about? Where does that sadness come from in your experience? And then we're going to talk about the shame once men travel abroad. Why so much shame? Because the topic was peace, sadness, and shame. From peace to being in Brazil to sadness to coming back from Brazil, which leads to Post Brazilian Depression, and then also the shame for actually going. So why the sadness? When you do a comparative analysis between Brazilian women and American women, why the sadness? And maybe you said it more or less, but why the sadness? Eric Spencer.
Well, so like I said, the sadness comes from the opportunity. Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, you go to a seminar and somebody presents a product to you and you see the opportunity in the presentation, but you're not in a position to take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. And it saddens you because you're not in that position. Mm-hmm. Well, that's like going to Brazil, because like Chris alluded to, you know, you want to be able to maintain a lifestyle. And a lot of guys, quiet as kept, they want to be they want to be husbands. They want to be married. Mm-hmm. And they go there and they see, contrary to what everybody else says, they're black women. And when I say black, from light, bright, damn near white, mm-hmm. to charcoal, mm-hmm. they have the same spectrum that we have. Anything that you are attracted to, it's there for you. Mm-hmm. So when you see that there, your mind starts to wonder, well, maybe I can move down here, or maybe I can find a wife that I couldn't find here. And maybe I can have the life that I want to have. I'm just going to have it in Brazil and all the other things. And, you know, to have that going through in your head, it saddens you, because, you know, I have to disagree with Ty, choosing from a pool of our women. They aren't our women. That has been made publicly, especially in the last 5 years. Right. They are not our women. Mm-hmm. So you're choosing from a pool of women that don't want to be with you. Mm-hmm. That they're combative, and knowing that that's what you have to go back to, it saddens you, because you're leaving places where there are tons of women of color, Afro-Brazilian women, right. that want to be with you, that want to be wives, that appreciate you, and you come back here and you dealing with, I mean, as soon as you get off the plane, you get attitude. I mean, literally, by the time we hit Miami, you right back into that attitude from you dealing with the TSA to the agents or whatnot. And oh, you just came back from Brazil. Oh, you down in Brazil? You just right there. What is all that about? Why are you upset about me coming back into the country? Because they know, and it saddens because that's what you have to come back to.
Mm-hmm. It's
like I left the country and I got to come back to an ass whooping, and I ain't do anything.
Sadness. Why is there sadness, Chris Strongard? Why is there sadness when you come back within the confines of the United States?
Oh man, it's so many reasons, and Eric, he touched on a lot of, and I will piggyback off what he said as far as them not being our women. I was gonna make a comment about that earlier, but they're not. You know what I mean? Because they have decided to separate themselves from us because they made the decision that they would rather have the government be their man instead of us. So it's just like, all right, y'all drew the line a long time ago. I mean, we see what they did to the brother Ice Cube when he tried to make the Declaration for Black America, and they're talking about some, oh, what's in it for us, Cube? Cube is like, what are you talking about? I said, black people, what do you mean? But they want to separate themselves and act as though that there's something better, you know, higher. And that, I mean, that gets deeper because honestly, it's like they want to be closer to the hierarchy or the structure that's in power, and then keep us down, but then elevate themselves at the same time. That's why it's like we can't even deal with them. So therefore, they're not our women. And the reason that it's sad is because not only that whole part of it, but when you actually come out here and you see how different it is, it makes it even worse to say, you know, damn, when I go back home, it's like you can't even it's almost like you can't even describe the feeling. That's why you just got to tell some brothers, you just got to go down. You got to come here. You just got to come see it. Because when you go back home, like you said, you getting smoke from everybody. You getting smoke from the TSA. You getting smoke from the sisters who work in the airport. You know, where you just come from? Oh yeah, I was in Brazil. Oh, what you doing out there in Brazil? Like, hey, whoa, chill the hostility. Hey, my name's Chris. First of all, relax. You don't even know me like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but then too, there's that mindset that y'all are our men, you belong to us, as though we're their children. Right. See, that's something that's been taught and ingrained in a lot of black women, is that black men are more or less their children first, and then it's almost like they don't have a high level of respect for us because they see us as children first. Oh, you were a boy. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like they don't respect you as men unless you the thugginess, drugginess, gang baginess, almost about to step into the prison. Then they look at you as, oh, well, he got records, so he hard. It's just all that nonsense. And it's sad to see all of that. And it's sad to feel that strain when you come back to the States, because when you get back to the States, you'll just be sitting around your office or your house or your desk, and you're just like, man, I just had my feet in the sand in Rio. I had something beautiful on my arm, sister, you know, and the energy she was getting me, the energy that they give you when you're out in these type of environments and these places, and just like I said, to feel that genuine love from people and that openness is of almost being like welcoming into their home, into their country, because they're very welcoming people down here. Like, I had an experience where I was at the tattoo shop getting some work done, and I knew one of the guys, and one of his homegirls who's a friend, I had just met her. I wound up hanging out with her homegirl, and then their friend, and we all went to go drinks, and we're all having drinks and having a good time. By the end of the night, like, we had been knowing each other for years, and she was teaching me how to dance and do that little two-step and all that, and I'm just like, we just met each other like earlier in the day before the sunset, and now we hanging out, sharing drinks like we've been knowing each other for years. Like, that is a part of the hospitality and the vibes and the energy that you get when you come down here. You don't feel like an outsider. And I said it before, and I said it again when we was when all of us were here and we were sitting around eating dinner. I said it's like you don't realize. It's almost like you don't feel like you're an American until you step outside the country. You see, because in America you're an African-American, as if you are subject to, or you're minus, or you're less than. You can't just be an American in the States. You have to be an African-American. You have to be almost be like a subclass. You have to be a separate from just being an American. But when you go to other countries, you don't have to identify yourself as that. They say, well, yeah, you're an American. Yeah, okay, got you. You don't have to say you're black. You don't have to say African. You know how it is where you can come to a different country and you don't have to hear that term black. Oh, that black dude, that black guy. You don't even hear that. It's not even in a vibration of energy out here. It's that American right there. See? And that word by itself has energy with it. It has a certain connotation to it. Because it's not hyphening you. It's not making you a separate or a sub or other than. You're just an American when you come down here, when you travel overseas. So and then when you go back into it, when you go back into the States, you have to deal with all the mindsets and all the things that you can clearly see are backwards and wrong with the place that you call home. And that's what I'm saying, like, because you come down here and you'll be like, man, I got to try to find a way to set up shop outside the States, bro. I got to get to the Caribbean, Colombia, Brazil. I got to get out. I got to, that's why we say yourself black, man. That's why it's SBM. That's why we say that, because when you have seen and felt what it's like to honestly be treated as what you should be, or as a full American. You know what I'm saying? You actually, it's almost intoxicating. You're like, man, I got to go back to that. This place is amazing. I got to figure out, because it'll change your mind. Because you'll be like, I got to figure out ways to set up shop. I got to do better. I got to learn this language. I got to get money right. I got to, give me some type of little condo, something set up. It'll change you in ways that you never thought that you even could conceive.
Right,
because you're under a different mindset of what you were taught you had to be in the States.
No doubt. I totally agree. Ty, you and Gina you guys have been in America. And so when you hear the counter argument to what the other brothers are saying, give me your sentiment on that. You sound like an optimist. You're a Leo like me, so we're very optimistic. But give me your sentiment on what on your take about why you feel like we should focus on women in America. Go ahead.
Well, I think that I believe that the older woman is no real hope for them, to be honest. Right. You know what I mean? I believe I date younger women. So okay. I'm that 39-year-old brother. I'll be 40 next month. I date women who are early 20s. And so I can't deal with. I'm not competing. I'm not going to be involved in any drama. Because any drama, any competing is taking me away from what I'm supposed to be doing, my path, my mission, I can't focus if I got that in my head, if I got an argument in my head or whatever the case, I can't deal with that, and I'm trying to be great, I'm trying to be a great man. So in order for me to be a great man is either I'm going to have someone in my life that is supporting that's giving me the freedom, the peace and all that, or I have no one in my life. Right. There's no other option. I'm not going to be trying to fight with anyone to make things happen. So when I say that to say this is that I can find a woman in America. I can find, or everything that everyone is saying, I agree. Everything that everyone is saying here, the situations, the combativeness, all that stuff that you're experiencing, I agree. It is here. It's happening here. However, I'm having happy relationships in America. Not to say I'm not going to go to Brazil either. Not to say I'm not going to go to other countries to experience that as well, because I think that having that exposure, if I find a young woman here, I start dating her when she's 22, I decide that, she's the one, she understands my game. I might take her down to Brazil so she could learn. This is how it is to be a feminine woman. This is how it is. This is how you should be. This is how, because they're not learning here. Right. They don't have, if you don't have any fathers, if you don't have any, if you don't have that, if you're being raised by single mothers who have this disdain towards men, we have a whole generation of women who are coming out having these beliefs. And then you have the music and all that. Actually, one of the young women that I'm dating casually now, she's a singer. And I told her I want to write a song for her. And I want her to write a song about how It's going to be 3 verses, right? The first verse is going to be her speaking like all other black women are speaking now. It's disdain towards men, sorry. You know, and then the second verse is going to be her meeting somebody like myself who's teaching her about men. So you can understand why is it valuable for you to be in a man's life. And then the third verse will be her new understanding. How that new understanding has helped her in relationships now. Because a lot of women are operating based on this love and hip hop culture. Right? If you listen to like even the way their fashion, their makeup, everything, hairstyles, all that stuff is based on this love and hip hop culture. Because if women don't have guidance from men, they figure it out somewhere else. They follow each other. Right? They follow each other's move. That's why no matter how bad these eyelashes are getting ridiculous, because it's like a competition between each other. They're competing with each other. They're not taking cues from the men, because the men don't like that. Right? They're getting these implants and all this stuff in their bodies, injecting their bodies because they're getting these cues from these women who are doing this love and hip hop and flashiness. They don't know what they're doing. Right? So you get a younger woman who understands, and you're older man, you're standing on your square, you're not tolerating any nonsense. That's how you get women to follow your lead, your path. And that's why I say it doesn't really matter where you are. A man can find a woman if he wants to find a woman. A man can have a woman operate to his program if he wants to operate to his program, if he's that man. Now, some women you got to cut them loose. A lot of black women are not gonna experience true love. A lot of them are not gonna experience, and it's a sad thing. And it's the reason why I say they are women, because we have black daughters, nieces, aunts, right? If our niece or our aunt or our daughter doesn't find love, they're gonna be mean to us. They're going to be horrible to us as our nephew, as our cousin. So they are our women. Maybe not the ones we're dating, but they're women in our lives. They still our women. And they still need to learn. They still need to have love too. Some of them aren't. Some are going to find love with cats. You know what I mean? That's just what it is, unfortunately for them. But at the same time, like I said, we have daughters, and the pool of our women are here. Our nieces, our aunts, they're here. They live here. Where are they going? What's Brazil to them?
We can't hear you, brother.
I think what the guys are talking about are the guys in their age group, like Ms. Johnson was saying, you know, like women going forward. But I do agree with you. There's a sentiment. But unfortunately, and you tell me what you see, Ms. Johnson, do you think that a lot of the millennial women or zennials are actually getting it? Or do you think they're really indoctrinated too? But I think what Eric is saying, because he's going to look for his wife at some point, he's not dealing with women in America with that mindset. It's not that he don't want to deal with women here, because I think you said from the last show, Eric, if you found her in America, you would marry her. Am I right or wrong? If you found her,
what I said was for me, because I'm 48.
Yes, sir.
So you know there is a stigma in the States with older men with younger women,
right?
You know, but when I go step in Brazil, I don't have that problem.
Right.
In fact, I get approached more. So to me, I'm not looking in the States anymore. And,
yes,
and it's fine. And there is no animosity or hostility or anger, because I understand what it is. And you can't talk to women that don't want to listen. They don't want to take instruction. And like I said, it can be from the 40s and up, but these millennials are just as bad. Don't get it twisted. Because all this WAP and Cardi B and all this other stuff that goes along with it, they're not teaching respect for men. You know, you have Beyonce getting blasted for a song that she made cater to you. Now, everybody know that black women love Beyonce, Queen B, but you're going to give Destiny's Child a hard time because they made a song a couple years ago about catering to that man, and you still think that these are our women? Okay, I tell you what, most men are going to look at that and they're going to say, you know what, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. I'm going to go down here and get my passport, and I'm going to get the hell on. Because before, you didn't have real-time results. Now, you're seeing it in real time. And you're so programmed with this phone in your hand with no filter that you're telling on yourself.
Right.
So why am I going to go and bust my ass and enter into a relationship knowing that you can't stand me? Yes, you might be able to find a younger woman, but It's far few in between. Let's talk about the other component that a lot of people don't want to talk about, is I have to be physically attracted to you. And as we know, Spelman got rid of their programs, the sports programs, because so many younger women were coming in overweight, obese, and just a hot mess. Nobody wants to talk about that. Attractiveness is the first thing that a man sees, not your personality, not your education, your degrees. Fit, feminine, and fun to be around.
Right.
And trust me, I'm in the gym. There aren't that many black women in the gym. They just aren't. Contrast to me going to Brazil, bruh, you've seen it. They out there walking, they out there stepping, they out there working out, because they know that they have to compete. Whereas here, you get to take me as I am. And quite frankly, brothers are saying, no, I don't. And they're choosing the other option, black man's option.
Right. And that's why we're having these shows, you know, and shout out once again to my homeboy, the lead attorney. We're doing these shows to bring light from a clinical perspective about why men are divesting from America. Why they're saying, you know what, we're keeping it moving, man. We're moving on. We're not dealing with this BS anymore. That's why men are doing it. You know, my man Aguapo was on the show. I saw him in Brazil. And, you know, we chopped it up a couple of weeks ago, man. And we were talking about what we see and why men are leaving America, because it's not that they don't want American black women. We want them, but they're not cooperative. I brought a sister on this show, a seasoned, intelligent, beautiful black woman on this show to act as a buffer to the nuances that are going on in America. And they are giving her hell. They're giving her hell. They're giving Monique hell. They're giving Iyanla Van Zant hell. They're giving Sister Shahrazad Ali hell. And men supposed to be concrete servants, or what I call the commodifications of subjugation to women that don't even respect them as men. But they can go abroad, and like Eric was saying, I saw it myself. In other countries, we'll celebrate as gods. We're celebrated as kings. And like Al Green said, man, you can feel the feminine vibration going up your dorsal spine, man, when you get into under the guidance and you're around feminine, cooperative, kind women, and also around good brothers that are masculine like Eric and my man Chris Strongheart. It ain't really having to do with this being around pretty women. It was just a brotherhood, man. You know, I felt like a young man again. And I told the man, I said, if he married a woman in Brazil, he'll make a boy in Brazil fast. You'll make a boy in Brazil. You will make a boy in Brazil. Because literally, man, when you're in toxic relationships, that negative cortisol is a detriment. It's a detriment to your health. Gene, you are Gene is brother Gene Davis is a physical fitness expert as well. And that's what I brought him on the show as well. And one of the 7 principles of masculinity is female psychology, finances, faith, family, politics, travel, and health. That's what makes a man become an optimized male. That's why I came up with the term, the kosher clinician, because if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. And so men, in order to become optimized, must have that balance in their lives in order to live their life. Men actually die early, guys. We die before women. Men die off early because they're not getting the love, the peace, and respect that they deserve as men. So I had to take this upon myself, man, to try to educate men and to empower men about the ravages of what's going on in society, man. I had to take this risk. As a clinical therapist, it's not more or less pigeonholed by PC. I know what I'm saying is not PC, but I'll take a chance of doing that, man, because it would be unethical of me to sit back and see black men and American men suffer in silence, but not to say anything because I'm trying to be PC. So let's talk about the shaming language, guys. You know, a lot of guys get shamed for traveling abroad. And then back to Ms. Johnson, what does your sons think about? I'm sorry, go ahead, Gene.
All right, yeah, I wanted to say something.
Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
Because one of the things that I think we're not.
Guys, mute your mic. Somebody mute your mic, please.
Whose mic is it? One of the, like, we're talking about, you know, all this stuff with black women and men, but like there's an elephant in the room that none of it that we're not discussing, and that is the fact that, like, all right, we're talking about whether or not they're our women. Yet, you know, black women right now have 2 movements on social media: the swirling movement and the divestment movement. They are literally publicly begging white men to want them. They have books. I mean, every avenue of social media they are on, begging white men to want them. I mean, and you know that I've done research on this for like 3 years. I've been through the race play blogs. There's over 1,000 race play blogs online with hundreds to thousands of black women on them. And what? Let me be clear. Race play is where black women are willing sex slaves to white men. So these same women who are telling us that our masculinity is toxic are willing to be sex slaves to white guys. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what you have to understand is that they don't, part of their anger and their resentment is that they don't want us. Who they want, they cannot have. Despite the swirling movement, despite the divestment movement, white men date and marry black women less than any other group. You know, so it's like they're begging the guys who want them the least, and with no shame. No shame whatsoever. And me, you know, I live in New York City. I see it, man. I know white guys that run through black women like a forest fire. I had a client who, in 2 years, this guy slept with, matter of fact, he texted me today. He slept with over 50 women. And he was like 57, 58 years old. He was nearing 60. Not one of those women were over 30. Not one. Not one of them was over 30. I mean, this is like, and I don't understand why black guys don't see this. Why they don't see it. Like, if you mention it, they're completely, like, black women are doing this publicly, bro. I mean, you can go on TikTok and see black women making videos about the joys of being sex slaves to white guys. And it's so bad that white guys are making videos saying, stop worshiping us. We're not better than black guys. Stop, you know, I don't want you to be my slave. They're making videos in response. You know, nobody talks about this. It's not like the animosity that a lot of the animosity that we're dealing with is because they don't want to be with us unless you can put them in the same position as the white woman, which is really what they want. They want her social standing, and that comes with being with a white man. And what's really puzzling to me is I know loads of white guys who understand this. I know very few black guys who understand this. Most black guys have no idea the mentality of so many black women in the presence of a white guy. And being that I grew up on Long Island, and also I'm a personal trainer here in New York City, I'm in the spaces around affluent white guys, and where I'm the only black guy. And the black women, they act like I'm not even there. I see what they do. I mean, like I said, I had a client, he told me, I have so many stories. I can go on and on and on and on and on. It's just endless. And to give you an example of what I'm talking about, like, all right, we're talking about all these problems that we have with black women, right? If you go on a race play blog, you will see countless black women writing. They're writing like love stories about a return to slavery. They say that the 400 years that we have been free has been proof that we are not able to govern ourselves, and our rightful place is as slaves of the white man, and that there should be a race war and black men get killed off, and that black women will be taken as the spoils of war, and they will be the servants of white women and the bed wenches of white men. Like, they write this stuff. You know, and when you see all these feminists on Twitter and these content creators on YouTube, these are these women, and a lot of them are professional. I mean, their pictures, they have everything out in front. You know, like, they're not hiding. You see them. Some of them take pictures in their offices. Like, you see, these are educated, and a lot of them are very attractive. And then you see the white guys in the race play blogs fighting each other over who's poaching who's slaves. This is now, bro. Like, this is not at some point in the past. This is happening right now. You know, the other thing I want to bring up is that there are 900,000 more married black men than black women So we keep talking about brothers, moving on. They are really moving on, and like no one ever puts a number to it. But think about it. There's 2 million more black women in this country. What is that? There's 2 million more black women in this country, but there's 900,000 more married black men. So there's a lot of brothers who are not connected to, the manosphere, who don't know any of this. But what they do know is that they don't want to tolerate the nonsense, and they're marrying and they're going on about their business, and you don't hear anything from them. You know what I'm saying? You don't hear it. What black women don't understand is that the people that are online trying to bring about a change are the ones who still care. The ones who don't care are gone. They're gone. They're gone. They're married. They're living their life with someone, some non-black or a black person from another country or whatever. They're gone. 900,000 more of them. Like all this stuff. I don't know why. It's like we don't realize it. This is really serious. I mean, because if you have 2 million more women, but 900,000 more men married, then who really has the higher sexual marketplace value? Like
Right.
who is the person that is in the driver's seat? Yet black women try to act like they're going to make demands on us and that we have to, appease them. No, you're not in the driver's seat. We are.
And Gene, you're correct. The opposite of hate is indifferent. And the fact that I'm having this show with Brother Eric Spence, a world traveler, Chris Strongard, he's actually in Brazil right now. The opposite of hate is indifferent. It's because we still care. That's why we're still talking. That's why I brought Miss Johnson on the show, to be, once again, as a buffer to let women know that we don't hate black women. We love black women. But what black brothers are saying now, it's getting to the point like Eric Spencer, he's a single man, and Chris Strongheart, and maybe even Ty. We're just not going to deal with most American women. We're going to get more bang for our buck. We're going to get Ray Eye standards, because in Brazil,
Hey, I.
Hey Eye, so whatever you call them, we're going to get Hey Eye standards, because in Brazil you can get a lot more bang for your buck, and you ain't got to jump through all these hoops, man, to prove yourself to subpar women. What a lot of people don't understand in theology, the gospel say that the bride prepares herself for the bridegroom. And in many cases, if you believe in the Bible, the woman was made for the man, not for the man to subjugate and to use her as relates to power, but for her to serve him as he serves her. But they don't get it, man. And so we can talk about money, we can talk about everything else. But if our women have been indoctrinated to be angry towards us, like I bought a woman, I was talking to a lady today, and I tried to tell her, I said, in Brazil, they don't tolerate disrespect. The only thing she got from that was that I was trying to say that it was okay for men to hit women. And when the Guapo was on the show, we had his beautiful Abea. He was just saying, look, in Colombia and in Brazil, they know how violent the men can be there. Not saying we justifying violence, but those men just don't tolerate that kind of disrespect. Eric, from your perspective, tell us all this why that's true. Tell the men why men in Brazil and abroad are totally different than men in America as it relates to handling women.
Yeah, because it is a different culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, America has neuterized a lot of men, especially black men. In their country, it's just the opposite. Men are masculine, and almost to the point where if you get disrespected as a woman in Brazil and get mouthy, you can get backhand in front of the police, and they're not going to do nothing because they know that woman is out of line. I've seen it, and women can lose their lives because to them, you have a position to play, and when you start getting disrespectful, they have the all right authority to put you in your place, and they recognize that. So here, we don't have that type of power. We can't tell a woman, look, I said this is the end of it. This is the end of it. Bah, 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 bah. In Brazil, I say this is the end of it. This is the end of it. Bah, 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 bah. And that's the end of it. And they recognize that. And it's not anything that's disrespectful or abusive towards women, but you getting out of line.
Right.
and they respect that.
Right.
And even when you talk to some of the Brazilian women, they'll tell you that they know that they're getting out of line. Sometimes they get a little out of line, and it's not a physical thing. That's an extremes. But they've also seen instances where their girlfriends have lost their lives, getting out of a little respect.
Right.
And when we show them videos of what goes on in the States, they're flabbergasted.
Right.
They're like, there's no way that you could be living in Brazil and do the things that women here get away with to men. She said they'd be dead.
And to be clear, we're not advocating violence. I want nobody to go back and say
violence.
Right.
These are observations and stories.
Exactly.
When you talk to locals, these are things that you get when you're there. You get to talk to the locals. They tell you things.
Yes, sir. Right.
It's broadcasted, but it's understood.
Yes, sir. Right. Exactly.
Because you have to respect masculinity.
Right.
And they respect it. And like I said, if they get out of line, they know the consequences for it. That's why even if you approach a woman in Brazil and she's married or she's in a relationship, then they're very kind about it. It's like, I appreciate your interest in me, but I'm seeing somebody.
Right.
And you're like, okay, I just saw you. I thought you were attractive. I want to come over and ask you your name, blah, blah, blah. But since you're in a relationship, I understand. And that's the end of it. There is no disrespect or belittlement or anything at all. Right. None of that. What? Hey, how you doing? Why are you talking to me? Why are you? What? Well, hello to you too and whatnot. And like I said, it's too common here, and overseas, it's non-existent.
Right. Right. Brother Steve Brown has joined us. Or to the bang, Brother Steve Brown.
Hey,
or to the bang. So Steve, I asked the brothers that's traveled abroad. I want you to give 3 to 5 adjectives or nouns that you can think of as it relates to dating and relationships in modern America. And then after you answer that question, Steve, I want to ask you the question: do you think there's hope for the Black community? So answer the question, the first 2 questions.
All right. Well, that first one's gonna be tough, man, because I haven't dated in America in over 11 years. So.
Oh wow. Wow.
I divested quite some time ago, so I don't really have. I can only go, based on, 11 years ago. Here, challenging, difficult. I don't know if Eric said earlier, the juice is not worth the squeeze. That pretty much sums it up for me. And however many verbs and nouns are in there, that's pretty much it for me. I hope that answers the question. Okay. Did you think that's? Yeah, go ahead. So, what were your dating experiences like? Prior to going to Brazil, and have you experienced Post Brazilian Depression Syndrome? What were your dating experiences like prior going to Brazil, and have you experienced Post Depression Brazilian Syndrome? Dating prior to going to Brazil was like, oh man, it's just like you can never seem to get on the same page with a woman here. You know what I'm saying? I just found it that I wanted things. We wanted 2 different things, and when people are supposedly attracted to one another, there's a kind of a natural progression that should happen in the relationship, and it always seemed to be, put that off. You know what I mean? Try to see how much money you got to spend, or how many dates you got to go on, or try to take them on trips, and things like that, without really knowing if y'all really cool like that. You know what I mean? So I just kind of got tired of that hustle. My last LTR was just fraught with all kind of problems, man. It's just like, what? I've been with this woman 5 years. Marriage ain't gonna make this no better. After this, I'm done. So that's dating for me here in the States. As far as Brazil and withdrawal, my first trip to Brazil, which is in 2015, I did actually feel that. Now, I've been 7 times already now, so the withdrawal is not so much, more. I don't experience it so much because I always know I'm coming back. But that very first trip, I didn't know when I was going to come back to Brazil. I just knew that I wanted to get back. That's a real thing. Didn't cry, but I did feel myself getting a little, little tearful, a little misty-eyed in the airport that first trip. But that's that's over for me. That I don't experience that anymore.
So Miss Johnson, and then back to Ty, and then Gene. When you hear these brothers sharing their sentiments of distress due to dating, what are you internalizing? Because I can see you taking it in, and you're being very methodical with your answers. But what are you taking in? And do you feel like you're going to get excoriated by the sisterhood?
Oh, I do. I always do. That's why it's actually, unless they're like close friends, I remain silent. I may say some things online, and of course, the women usually come after me if I make a comment on a couple other pages I'm on. But I see. I mean, oftentimes you see it just as a Black woman interacting with other women, how stressful that can be, and how it's always this struggle over some of the simplest things. Like you talked about, like hair and makeup, and I mean, because women my age, we weren't allowed to wear makeup as teenagers. A lot of us just never got into the makeup. I mean, like lipstick and mascara is part of a lot of women in their 50s. That's why I think you see that, because we just weren't allowed to wear it growing up. So like me, I don't do it. I don't put on eyelashes because I don't know how to.
Right.
If I knew how to, I probably would. I just have to wear mascara and lip gloss. But I still think that it's combative sometimes just with friendships. I mean, you got to watch what you say, and they take offense, and oh no, I didn't mean it that way. Oh no, you get tired of having to justify everything you say because they have this, sometimes they're on edge. Now, my close friends, none of them are like that because I wouldn't associate with women like that. But just when you're having just interactions, just out and about, and you see the hostility. I mean, I could be driving and I look over and it's like a woman. I mean, it's a black woman who is looking at me like I'm sleeping with her man. And I'm like, maybe she looks like me, but I'm not her, Dunny. And you look up, and I go into stores. You can go into Target, go into the grocery store. I mean, this is a daily thing. And I've had to point this out to my husband. He's like, I never realized that Black women did this to each other. But I could walk into a store and, you see them staring at you, and you look up and they don't stop. They'll keep staring you down. You're like, okay, we don't know each other. But that's like a daily thing you see. Just when you go into certain communities, it's just that combativeness. And I'm like, oh, I mean, and I've said it. I'm like, well, if I was a Black man, I wouldn't deal with them.
Right.
So, I mean, I've said it just because of what I've dealt with and how I see. And I've even asked my son, one of my sons never has dated a Black woman. And I asked him, was it something I did? Because you always hear, well, your mama's Black. And so I said, well, maybe, is it something to this? And I'm like, why have you never dated a Black woman? And he says, the Black women I like only like white men. The type of Black girls I like only date white men. And Black girls don't come the way you are, Mom.
Right.
They don't like that anymore. Mm-hmm. And it bothers me if our top Black guys are dating white women or outside of the race. And then our top Black girls are dating outside of the race. What happens to the community? I mean, if you have the girls who don't have the long nails and don't have weaves or some color like purple or green or yellow, whatever wigs they wear. And if the decent ones and the classy ones are only dating outside of the race, what happens to our race?
Well, listen, the Black gene or the Black man can procreate with anything. If it got the Black man gene, wherever a man put his seed, he can be in Brazil, Thailand, that child is still going to be Black. And so if Black men want to recreate or rebrand, because we are the leaders, rebrand a new Black progenesis, then Black men can do that. The Eric Spencers, the Top Main Cutness, the conscious crab. Actually, we got 2 crabs in the house. Chris and my man Gene, 2 crabs in the house. But if they want to recreate the image of the Black man elsewhere, they can do it. They don't have to do it with Black women. You saw it all in politics, where some of our women, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Johnson, they didn't vote for the black community. They voted for collectivism. They voted for policies that were antithetical to the black community and the black family. But yet on the flip side, you want black men to protect you and love you. No disrespect to no sororities or fraternities, even though they tried to get me to pledge Alpha Phi Alpha at North Carolina Central. So no disrespect to nobody. But all you saw was chucks and pearls. And when I tried to tell people about the policies and how some of these policies were antithetical to the black community, they didn't say anything. But black men is just supposed to be serfs just because we are black. And what a lot of these women don't understand, we're not dating our mamas, we're dating black women. They say your mama is black, but how about your dad is black?
Right. But
I
think
your dad is black too.
Yeah, but black women don't realize how they're used.
Right.
They don't realize that the black woman's ego is used to keep the black community under control.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
They don't realize
absolutely.
that. So they're thinking like, oh, black girl magic. Look at us doing all of this because you're easy to control.
Right.
That's why you're given those positions, because you're easy to control. And you will keep your men in check more than anyone else.
Right. Right.
So I think that ego, when I see that, and I'm like, they don't realize how much they're actually being used.
Right, right. No, I totally agree. Shaming language, guys. Shaming language. And we're going to talk about shaming language, then we're going to sign off in a few minutes. But before we sign off, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. And if you like what I'm doing as a clinical therapist, even though I'm taking a risk, I'm like Sojourner Truth. Y'all got me going through the swamps of peak political correctness. Cash out 7 Smalls. Cash out, because these shows are very time consuming. But I do these shows because I have a abiding love for the brotherhood. I do these shows because I want to see black men liberated. I do these shows because I respect brothers like Eric Spencer and BMO. I do these shows because I respect men like Chris Strongheart and Steve Brown and the Conscious Crab and my man Ty Maynard Cutler, because Ty is an image consultant. He's a real image consultant. So y'all check out that brother. He's in New York. So, he got more style than probably Kevin. Check out Ty Cutler. He's an image consultant.
I wanted to point something out, man. We're talking about brothers traveling to other countries and all, and I'm all for that. Don't get me wrong, but one of the things that you're able to see in a place like here, like New York, is there are a lot of immigrants here from like Central America, South America. There's a lot of day laborers. You see these guys, they're making no money. But their wife is packing their food for the day. They get up, they go out to work, they come home, they get all the respect in the world. Like, you don't have to go overseas to see men be treated like men. These guys are making nothing. They come home, they're treated with respect. On the weekends, they go out, they get their little drink on. But their life, they get more respect than 99% of the black men. Now, if you watch Kevin Samuels, you see all these women saying, he'll say, oh, the average black man makes $40,000 or $45,000. And nobody wants to date that guy. Yet here are these Hispanic women, these little Central and South Americans, dating guys who are day laborers, illegal immigrants, making nothing, and showing them all the respect in the world. Like, showing them all the respect in the world. And I know a lot of these people. I grew up here, so I know loads of them. So when you grow up seeing something like that, and you see, and I already spoke about my own background, but you see the men on the lowest economic rung being shown more respect than the typical black man knows at any point in time in his life. You got to wake up and smell the coffee. Like, you got to understand that this is not normal. This is not normal. Like, if a guy who's broke in comparison to you is getting that type of love and respect, then why are you being denied it? You got to ask yourself that. Oh, you muted. You muted, bro.
Let's talk about, guys, Brazilian shaming language. Let's talk about the shame accompanied with Brazil. And Eric, you touched on it a little bit, but let's talk about the shaming language you guys have gotten when y'all came back from America. Eric, you talked about it a little bit. But
Oh, go ahead. I just want to. I got a thought in my head, and
go ahead. Go ahead.
On what Gene was saying.
Go ahead.
So he said earlier that black men don't see it, but what you don't realize is black men do see it. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have a Facebook group of damn near 20,000 black men,
right? And
we're comparing notes. And when we get on these trips, Seva can tell you, we know what's going on.
Right.
We're just not out here trying to be black man magic, because we don't need a slogan. We just going to disappear and we're gone.
Right.
See, the what's the slogan? The revolution won't be televised.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Trust me, you're seeing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're not seeing, because brothers are not going to come out here on these forums. These forums are great, but the shaming tactics, we've already heard them. Your mama black. Mm-hmm. Oh, you must hate women. Mm-hmm. Or you're gay. Mm-hmm. We're immune to that. Because why? Yeah. Because we've heard it over and over and over.
Right.
And now we're starting to see, well, you don't take care of your kids. Well, I don't have any kids.
Right.
So which men are you talking about? Oh, we have data that says 51% of black men don't have any kids.
Right.
So wait a minute. Which men are you talking about? Oh, it's the men, it's the ain't shit dudes that you have been messing with.
Raekwon the man.
Yeah. So now we have a note. Oh, you want to be Miss Ann.
Right.
Oh, you want to have your own benefits and to divest. Oh, you want to write books and have movements on swirling. Okay. So now you're giving us confirmation of what we already know. Mm-hmm. But we're not going to fight back or retaliate or jump up and down. What we're going to do, we're going to get our passport, and it's going to be like Michael Jackson. It's going to be a thriller. Because when I hit that airport in Rio de Janeiro, brother, I'm a smooth criminal.
Right. Right.
Hey, now that's why the shaming tactics don't work.
Right.
Because we've heard them before. And like I said, you can't come at me with that anymore, because you're a hypocrite. Oh, you over there dating, you want to date a white woman. Well, no, they're black in Brazil, but you have swirling movements and you pedalize Meghan Markle and Serena Williams, but you want to give what's his name, Tyrese, or hell, Robin Griffith III, hell, about giving praise to his woman. You're a hypocrite and you're telling on yourselves. So brothers, we don't need to go back and forth with us. You can't shame me. That your mama exactly. Black, you ain't no place near the caliber of my mama. You couldn't smell my mama's fart if she was eating collard greens and chips. You are not in the same realm. So right. Don't even compare yourself to that. Right. And that's where we are. You want to give us smoke? Okay. Well, guess what? Now we realize what it was doing, the manipulation, right. The shaming. So right. Now we're going to give you this smoke back. And right. You're not used to that. Mm-hmm. The black man affair and brothers, the black man's options. Yo, when our founder passed away, Charles Tyler, they cheered his passing.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yes, they cheered his passing.
Oh, wow.
But yet and still, didn't nobody say anything about his black daughter.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry to hear that.
No. But I'm dovetailing in to say it. You didn't care nothing about his daughter and her feelings, and she lost her father. But you pray, but you are going to get up here and praise because he's passing. And we've seen the same thing with Kobe Bryant. Mm-hmm. So no, you can't shame us anymore, because you've told us time and time again that we are for ourselves. We want to divest. So you can't shame me about going to Brazil. Matter of fact, I don't have no problem telling anybody I'm going to Brazil and I'm going to get my wife from Brazil.
No doubt.
That's it. You can't shame me.
Right.
You know, the truth is, how come you're not a better option here in the States? Right. Because you don't want to be, because you don't think we're worth it. So you know what? I'm going to pick my stuff up and I'm going to go shopping in another store and I'm going to get a better deal. Mm-hmm. And you can't shame me, because now I know who you are. You have revealed yourself to be the enemy. Right. And I'm sorry, but that's just the way black men have to look at it, because that's what it is. You have black judges that give black men more time. You got black politicians that do everything they can to hinder black men. While you up there talking about black girl magic, but you don't have any black boys to marry these black girls. So
Yes,
how you marry communities?
Right.
So it's dead.
Right.
So you don't promote family. You promote women. So brothers that are out here working and wanting to have families, we're gonna divest. And there's no hard feelings, but you can't shame me to come back to the plantation. And unfortunately, that's gonna be a hard lesson that a lot of people are gonna have to go through. Black women, we can't save you from yourself. Like you said, you want to clutch pearls, sweetheart. In the next 3 to 5 years, it's gonna be a whole lot more clutching than damn pearls.
You know, and it's gonna be a lot, man, with cats and wine and singing that song by Patti LaBelle called "I'm on My Own." Because you know, it is because like Gene was saying, you're worshiping a man that don't want you, and you competing for that man. You have Asian women, you have Hispanic women, you have other women that are competing for that man, and that man has standards. And as we already know, 80% of black women are overweight, and they don't tolerate that.
No,
they tell you don't qualify. That's the God honest truth.
Yo, bro, just 1 second. I want to mention something you just said. Now, me being a trainer in New York City, I have seen white men and how brutal they can be with their women when it comes to weight. Black women have no idea. They would just rip them to shreds. They do not tolerate that. You are 1000% right.
Exactly. I see it in the gym. I see it in the gym. So you trying to compete and shame us to keep us down because we're able to date out naturally. We don't have to have any gimmicks and whatnot. No, that you can't shame me about going to Brazil. You can't shame me about going to Thailand. You can't shame me about going to Africa or Portugal or Morocco.
Right.
Them days are over. They're over.
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of black women don't believe the fat meat is greasy. But I'll tell you what, we're gonna find out for sure. Yes, I am from North Carolina. I am country, and I embrace all that. So,
I'm gonna use that. Damn it. The fat meat is greasy, but you know what? It goes back also, man. It goes back also. You know, Eddie Kendricks made a song back in the day. Said, "Keep on trucking, baby." The thing about a man can make a baby at 49 with a younger woman. Eric Spencer could make a baby at 70 if he wanted to.
That's
because there's no, because the man is the seed giver to life. As long as he can get it up and he's healthy. And so what they don't understand, man, you don't have no control over black men no more. And I love seeing brothers in power because no man should have to suffer in silence. And I thought about what you got to go, Miss Johnson. You got to go. Okay, thank you, dear.
Okay, take care.
All right. We got to do this again.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. All right. Bye, dear. All right. But yeah, you know, brothers are doing what's best for them, man. You know, they don't have to suffer in silence anymore. And you know, and back to your point, Eric, about Ty, I'm gonna get back to you about dating younger women. They try to shame you for dating younger women, not knowing that in those countries, younger women like older, established, more mature men. So, Ty, why are younger women a better option for you? I know this show is long. I'm gonna end in a few minutes, but why are younger women a better option for Ty Maynard Cutler? And shout out to Mr. Melanie. Thank you for the cash out, brother. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Dr. O. McCoy, for the cash out. And those that, if you like what I'm doing, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button. Tell other men about this channel because a movement is going on. BMO is going on. The Kosher Clinician is going on. We're working to empower men. That's why I'm having these brothers on this show. That's why I'm giving 3 hours of my time to let men know that they don't have to suffer in silence because that's not healthy to your psycho development as a man. So if you like what I'm doing, donate to $ Cash App 7 Smalls. And let's get this message out to young black men and older black men and middle-aged black men that they don't have to suffer in silence. There's greener pastures on the other side, and the fat meat is greasy. So tell me the Cutler, why do you want to date a younger woman? Have you gotten shamed for dating younger women?
So I can't get shamed. I don't care. Like I know a lot of guys are speaking about like with the women, what they're saying on these blogs, how they promoting white men. I don't care about them. You know what I mean? I'm doing things like I don't listen to that. I don't spend no time thinking about it. I don't spend no time trying to investigate it. I don't spend no time trying to decipher it. I don't care. Like we said, there are always in this world, not just black men, but in this world, there are more women than men. Right? We can be with as many women as we want to be. Right? That's how we're created as a species. So I don't spend my time thinking about women who are shaming all that. Like I let women know anytime I speak. I have a woman friend of mine. She's in her 40s. Right? She's single. She's having those women problems that that we're speaking of women who can't find somebody. She's a woman that I wouldn't date. But that's for a lot of reasons that the men are bringing up today. I wouldn't date her for that reason. At the same time, I let her know, here's who I'm dating, here's why I'm dating them, here's what's going on with me. And then she'll say some stuff like, and anytime she says any type of and I'm like, that's the reason why. That's the reason why your ass is single now. Right. You know what I mean? That right there. So I let her know the thing is that our women are dysfunctional.
Very.
Our culture is dysfunctional. The black men where majority of us are in jail, prisons. We're not earning what we need to earn. We're working for somebody else. It's a very small percentage of us.
No, the majority of us are not in jail. Oh, that's not true.
No, I'm saying there's a lot of us that are in jail. A lot of us in jail. A lot of us who have some type of criminal record, been in the system some way, somehow. We've been affected by prisons. Majority of us have been affected by prisons. Majority, and all of us can name somebody, our uncle, cousin, somebody. That person who's in prison was not in our lives. That person that's in prison, they took that wisdom and knowledge from us. So we're all affected by this. And because of that, this is the dysfunction now women are gonna have. Who are they following? They're following our lead. When we're not there to lead, this is the dysfunction that we see. So for me, I date younger women because I don't like everyone else. I'm not tolerating it either. Why would I? Why should I have to? Right. All the work and success that I've done to get to where I am, why would I tolerate something I don't want? Right. So I started dating younger women I want women who are fun, happy. I want their bodies to be tight. Like all the reason that we all want, all the things that men are going to Brazil for, I want the same things too. Right. So because I'm a man just like anyone else, and I get what I want. I have very successful relationships with young black women. When it's time for me to look for a wife, or if it's time for me to look for a life partner and all that stuff, we may have a different issue, right? I may have some different problems. I may run into some hurdles when it comes to that. But like I said, I don't tolerate any of the nonsense. Anytime women talking about all this, I just don't listen. It's not. Who cares? Like you get no space in my mind, right? Just like I won't date a woman who's overweight. I'm not listening to a woman who's talking nonsense.
Right.
I excuse myself. I don't have to be aggressive. I just leave. There's no conversation. I don't want to have this conversation. Even with my son's mom. My son's mom is Hispanic. Okay. Her and I just had a little back and forth. We're not together anymore. Her and I had a little back and forth. And I just said, I'm not having this conversation no more. That's it. The women have no power. The only power they have is the power we give them. And what you tolerate is what you encourage. That's my motto with women.
Right.
Okay. Right. So any of this stuff that's happening with women talking crap and all that, that's a small percentage of women who have big mouths.
Right.
All these women talking, that's a small percentage of women who have big mouths. There's a lot of women out here who like, man, I want a man bad. I want to be, I'll cook, I'll clean, I'll do this, I'll do that. There's a lot of women out there who will do that. You know what I mean? I'm not telling guys not to go where they need to go, but I'm just saying that the whole pool of them aren't bad. There's a lot of them with big mouths who are messing up for a lot of other sisters who aren't good, or who are good, rather.
When did Stephen Brown experience shaming language once he came back from Brazil? So the topic is peace, sadness, and shame. When did Stephen Brown experience shame after coming back from Brazil and dealing with Post Brazilian Depression Syndrome?
Shaming language. Honestly, I mean, I didn't experience too much of that. Some kind of family members. Hey, it's like I seen you down there in Brazil. What's up with that? But more kind of in a joking kind of way. I didn't get that too bad. But I did find that, people that I would talk to about Brazil, they would have, kind of like, well, why would you want to go down there, man? It's, they have these preconceived notions, isn't it a poor country? And, I mean, everything is, it's the United States, man. We got everything here. What you want to go down there for? That was kind of the extent of any kind of shaming language that I received. And, people that know me know that, ain't no changing my mind on Brazil at this point. They know that's where I'm going. Can't be talked out of it. So, that's a conversation that's going nowhere with anybody that knows me, and anybody that don't know me, I don't care. So, What was your other question?
Right. This more or less the shaming language and the shaming language that you experienced, and more or less any resent. Well, you say you didn't have a lot of depression when you came back. You say you got sad.
The first trip, the first time,
a
little
right.
bit,
right.
Kind of leaving the airport. It kind of
Right.
settles in when you realize that you're actually leaving.
Right.
And you start kind of looking at your photos and reminiscing your experiences and stuff like that. And
Right. Yeah. Like I told Eric, Steve, yeah, it hit me, man. At first I was like, man, I'm ready to get back home because I was tired, man. All that jet lag and losing my phone and crap. But I ain't gonna lie, man. After a week or two, I was like, man, what is coming over me, man? I was like Ella James. Something got a hold of me. I was like, what the world's going on? I felt like I was in the Baptist church, man.
Right.
Felt the spirit, felt the Brazilian spirit hit me.
Sure.
And I was like, man, what's going on? And then I started hearing the music, that samba music, man. And I started seeing the brothers on the beach, man, the brotherhood, man. And Ty, you gotta come, man. I was telling Ty about it. He gotta come, man. And you know what, Eric? Since you are one of the administrators from BMO, we might even need to do maybe like a sponsorship for young men, maybe like one man a year. To sponsor them. We get together and sponsor them to send a young man to Brazil to let him see about his options outside of America. Go ahead.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm not going to spoil it, but that's one of the goals for the Charles Tyler Foundation.
Right.
That's the one of the tenements that we're working towards. We want to give brothers options. We want to expose younger brothers to options outside of the states,
right?
And we want to move towards that. And that is one of the things that is part of the Charles Tyler Foundation. I don't want to expound on it too much.
I understand, no problem.
But that definitely is in the works for us, because Charles always wanted brother to explore their options, but he wanted brothers to come together and build relationships, not with just Black men in the States, but abroad as well, and making those connections and being a part of the community and the locals and stuff. So,
Okay, all right. Let's talk about you, brother Gene Davis. You're from New York. When did Gene Davis experience shaming language? You haven't really traveled. I don't know if you traveled abroad or not. But what's some of the shaming language you've experienced as a man? In about a few minutes, we're going to wrap the show up. It's been an awesome show because, a lot of people don't believe me when I tell. I've been trying to tell women for the longest about what men were thinking, but they say, oh, it's just you. Other men don't think like that. And, it's almost like when it comes down to voting, they'll tell you I'm going to vote for one candidate, but the polls say something different. So men say one thing in public, but they do something totally different behind the scenes. Right. So let's talk about brother Gene Davis. And so once again, the guys to the listening, get the thumbs up, get the likes up, so get the thumbs up, hit the notification button. And if you like what I'm doing, cash out $7 Smalls. But Gene Davis, when did you deal with shaming language, man? When you explored your options or exercised your options as a Black man?
I've never been to Brazil, but I've been to Europe. I've dated women from there. They would come back.
Can't hear you, Gene. You sound far off.
How about now?
Yeah, you sound like you're in the echo chamber.
Really? Is it better now?
Yeah, you just sound far off.
Yeah, okay, let me do this.
Okay, but keep talking. Go ahead, brother.
Is that better?
That's better.
Yeah.
There you go. We can hear you.
Is that better?
Perfect.
Okay, so all right, so you know, I haven't been to Brazil, but I've dated women from different European countries that where I've gone back and forth, they've gone back and forth. Here I've dated Dominicans, I've dated pretty much the rainbow, man. I married a Cuban. You know, anytime I've dated someone who wasn't African American, you know, they mainly like brothers big up you, but black women, you know, like I told you, I'm the type of dude, I'm just not having it. So they tread lightly, but they'll try to insinuate that you don't maybe you don't like black women, or you know, you hate yourself, you know, or you know, your mama black, and you know, stuff like that. One thing that I had happen was I had this one girlfriend that I actually posted her. I don't post my relationships a whole lot on social media, but this one I put her on there because she felt like, you know, I was ashamed of her or something, which is ridiculous. She's beautiful. But when I posted pictures of her on social media, do you know black women took those pictures and started making memes with the pictures?
Oh, wow. Like
pictures of me and my lady. They're making memes like and showing like black women crying, looking at me and my lady, and like, you know, how I hate myself because I'm with this woman who isn't, you know, who isn't black. I mean, like Ty said, I ignore that stuff, man. Nothing. Yo, but even your boy O'Shea tried to shame me, bro. So this is what happened. A woman came into my inbox from Scotland, very attractive woman, telling me how black men need to travel, and how all over the world women love American black men, and how we are the standard of masculinity across the globe. This is what this woman said. So I screenshot everything she said and her picture, and I posted it in Black Man's Travels. And O'Shea made a video trying to shame me about posting that, like as if like there's something wrong with this woman is expressing her opinion. I shared her opinion. I didn't embellish in the least bit. But then he looked stupid because a week later, Kevin Samuels made a video saying how Dr. Tia San Johnson, how women of other races come into his class wanting to learn about black men. So I was like, okay, I didn't get mad or anything because I knew, you know, O'Shea didn't know what he was talking about. He doesn't know me from a can of paint. But I then made another post saying, well, O'Shea, why don't you make a video about Kevin Samuels saying exactly what I said? You're not going to make that video because that's your boy. You got nothing to say. But, you know, here's a man trying to shame me for sharing what a woman said. This is what she said.
Right.
Black men are loved the world over. We need to travel. You know, we're the standard of masculinity. Like we don't know like how well loved we are across the globe.
Correct.
That's the type of shaming that you know I've experienced. But it was embarrassing to me when O'Shea did it because it's like, you're a man, bro. Right. You're a man. How you have a problem with what a woman is saying? Oh, I can't hear you, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
And you know, with the piggyback on what you're saying, Gene, and then Chris, I'm gonna bring it to you, and then we're gonna shut it down for the night. But the piggyback on what you're saying, there are a lot of men that try to shame men for traveling, which is weird. You know, they try to shame you. Oh, you just doing this. You're going to do this. You're going to see women. You know, you should, stay in your own community. Eric, let's talk about the shaming language you've experienced from other black men, because, you know, I ain't gonna call his name because I don't want to give him no free pub. No. And I like the brother, but you know, he was talking about men traveling abroad and saying, "Oh, you don't have any game. You know, why are you traveling abroad?" Which is stupid. I mean, but I'm not gonna give him no free pub.
No.
But what's your take on the men that shame men, to piggyback on what Gina said about traveling abroad? And we're about to shut the show down because it's been a long show.
Okay.
So what's your take on that?
I'm just going to go quick into it, you know, and this is not related to, I said, the game that you play here is not the same game that you play overseas.
Right.
Right now, you in the States, you playing a home game by these rules. But as you go overseas, you're playing an away game, and you can't play the same game that you play in the States overseas. because it's not the same game. I've seen these guys that go down here and they think, oh, I'm a player down here. I'm like, bro, you ain't doing nothing. Because these women are very open to being approached versus back in the States, it's the problem. Like I said, it's not any negativity or hatred. It's just a fact. You have to make a comparison. It's different. The only game that you need to have is, and dovetails in what Ty was saying, you need to be working on your purpose, self-improvement, and all the other things that make you a man in this world. And they're going to respond to that. Versus here, you got to have, just 6 figures and all the other stuff. Look here, the majority of people don't have 6 figures.
That's true.
You walk over there and majority of people are wearing flip-flops, short flip-flops and t-shirts, but they have the best time in their lives. Do they have high-end upscale stuff, fashionable? Yes. Yes. Every country does. But the vast majority of, like, we had somebody that want to wear a Versace shirt. I told them, I said, they don't know what Versace is. I said, so that shirt's going to go to waste. You're used to doing something in the States that you don't have to do. T-shirts, flip-flops, have your own personal style and whatnot, and be the best version of you. That's all the game that you need to have in the States. Women are the same all over. Right. But if you're playing in a different environment,
yes,
women respond differently.
They respond
differently. Overseas and just being yourself and walking up to a woman and introducing yourself and having a conversation is 10 times easier than you in the States, where you have to finagle. Well, can I say this? And is she going to make a scene or whatnot of rejecting because they take pride in that? And like I said, Ty, I know that might not be your experience, but a lot of black men are having that experience, and they just say the juice ain't worth the squeeze. So, it's a different animal there. And I see guys that have problems in the States, and when they come to an event, we have a little indoctrination. We tell them, you don't need to do this. You don't need to have this. Be yourself, be humble, be respectful, be fun, and enjoy the experience.
Right.
And it works out damn near 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Chris Strongart, when did you experience shame? And maybe you answered the question. My brain's getting old, it's getting late, but did you experience shame coming from Brazil? And have you experienced shame from other black men once you traveled abroad? Did you hear Chris?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool. So experience shame, any shame I've experienced, not a lot so far. Out of all my trips and all my travels, it's more like, bruh, how?
Where'd you go, Chris?
Chris is having.
I'm back, brother.
Chris is having. So, Steve, did you experience shame in language with other men when you traveled abroad? Did you experience shame in language, real quick?
To be honest with you, no, not really. Like I said, maybe more curiosity than anything, and then just some preconceived notions that you kind of, bring people up to speed on. Like, look, man, it's not like what you think, or what you have seen in the media, that type of thing. Like that's propaganda. This is what it's like over here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But shaming from other dudes, not really, to be honest with you.
Okay. Chris, what shame have you experienced from other men and women pre and post Brazil? And then we're going to sign off. And before we sign off, guys, thank you, Eric Spencer, for coming on, being an exemplar to giving me an option. Thank you, Ty Maynard Cutler, for sharing your insight. And go check out Ty. Ty, tell the audience before Chris starts, tell the guys how they can get your card, your business card, because Ty's an image consultant in New York. So tell the guys how they can get your information about dress and apparel. Ty. Can't hear you.
Muted. Can't hear you, bro.
You're muted, Ty.
They can check me anywhere. So Ty Cutner on Facebook, Instagram. I'm a part of the Gentleman's Factory here in New York. My whole goal is helping men. I went through my struggles in relationships. I went through my struggles in my career, and I've overcome them. And my goal is to help men, right? Men in general, but especially Black men. So my goal right now with me helping guys in relationships, I speak to all men. So these are mostly white men. They're going through the same issues too. They're going through issues with women too, because America, what America is putting out there is destroying how women see things and how they relate to men. And that's why we're having these issues. So, my goal is really to help us all come together, help men become better men, So that started with image, it started with helping a man improve his image and how he presents himself, because once he's presented himself well and he sees himself as that person he wants to do, no one is going to tell him what he can and can't do. He's going to walk into every room with yes on his mind already, So that's what I teach men. And when it comes to relationships, I teach men, you hold your ground. You focus on you. You focus on your job and determination. And that's what my content is all about. So just look out for me, Ty Cutner, Instagram, everywhere else.
Okay, send your information, Ty, in the private. I'm going to post it so the brothers can get it. So back to Chris, and we're going to sign off. This is the longest show I've done, but it's been an honor. Shaman language. Did Chris Strongheart go do shaman language pre-Brazil and also after Brazil from men and women?
Not really.
Okay.
Not a lot. You get some jokes here and there. You just got to get people joking about, why are you going out there? But mostly it's just like a lot of love, because most people kind of just want to know, like, what is it like, and what's going on out there. What's the culture like? What's the ladies like? What can they do to get down there, and all kind of different stuff. You know what I mean? It's mostly just a lot of love, because I don't really keep a lot of haters and people like that in my circle anyway. So anybody who would be talking reckless to me like that, I wouldn't be having much conversation with them anyway. So for me, it's more like me helping other brothers getting down here. That's more or less the conversations I get. I mean, you'll get some odd looks here and there for people who don't know you, or somebody in passing, or somebody who may overhear a conversation or two, but mostly it's really a lot of love at the end of the day, and that's usually what the energy I keep around me anyway. So not really a lot of hate on either side for me, man.
Okay, well, great. Well, listen, guys, we're about to sign off in a minute. Before I sign off, I want to thank my talented and lovely and kind Scorpio friend, Gail Lockett. Man, Gail is an awesome woman. She's an awesome woman. And to some of the brothers in the single, I might want to check Gail out. Gail is a great woman. I really appreciate you, Gail. Thank you, dear. You always come through. I ain't never seen a woman like you before. You can't be real. But real quick, I see you over there laughing, Ty. What did you guys get from the show in 2 words? What did you guys get from the show? Eric Spencer, starting with you.
Informative and confirming.
Boom. I love that. Ty Maynard Cutler, 2 words. What did you get from the show?
Explorative and masculine.
Okay. Chris Strongheart, what did you get from the show? 2 words. Chris, you sound like you frying chicken back there, brother.
Great. Great experience, man. Great experience.
All right, brother Steve Brown, what'd you get from the show?
I tuned in late, but I could say more travel.
More travel. I like that. And we got my man, the Conscious Crab. But listen, guys, y'all donate to 7 Smalls, man. I'm the poor righteous teacher, man. I'm the poor righteous teacher. $ 7 Smalls. If you like what I'm doing, man, link, like, share, subscribe. Send this show to other brothers. Help this channel get to 1,000 subscribers, man. I'm serious about what I'm doing. I'm taking the risk doing these shows, man. But I love the brotherhood, man. And I'll do it again. I'll walk over hell and high water for good Black men, not simps. And not goofy brothers, but I'm talking about good Black men. I'm talking about good Black men that are fair and balanced. So, guys, if you like what I'm doing, because I'm trying to grow this beast, man, and I might not have the time and the opportunity to give individualized attention in the future. I don't know where this channel is going to go, but it's growing, and I want you guys to be a part of it. But I need you guys to donate to Cash Out 7 Smalls, and share my material with other men so we can help liberate them too. So what did you get, Conscious Crab? What did you get from the show?
Oh, two words. Inspiring and empowering. Both of those things are what I experienced. I mean, it's great to see brothers understand that there are options and that we don't have to settle. You know, it's great to see Black men who have not been castrated. You know, there's so many brothers walking around. They're eunuchs, bro. They're community eunuchs. You know,
agree.
So it's great to see like masculine Black men who still, you know, holding their own nuts. Because everybody else, you know, most Black men and Black women are holding their nuts. So this is awesome.
It has been awesome. And also, shout out to the lead attorney, brother. Thank you. Salute for checking in on the show, man. I really appreciate that. Hopefully, we can do a collaboration at some point. I would love to come on your channel. You can come on mine. You can talk to the brothers about the ravages of family court and how men can circumnavigate a lot of the ravages of family court. So thank you, lead attorney, for checking in. And also, once again, thank you to the lovely Gail Lockett, man. You know, like I said, man, she's a good woman, man. So some of you single brothers need to check her out. You know, slide up in her DMs. I'm a guardian, though, so you got to come to me first. You got to come to me. I'm a guardian. I'm the guardian. I'm the 6'5" Moses. So we're about to sign off. Thanks again, guys. All love to brother Eric Spencer. All love to my man Ty Maynard Cutner. All love to the Conscious Crab. And all love to my brother Steve Brown. We're about to sign off. It's about 31 minutes after the hour of 11 o'clock. And we're bringing to you live to the greatest state in the union, the Tar Heel State. You don't get no better than that. Shout out to 704-919-252. You better recognize Ty, because this is the greatest state in the union, baby. So we're about to sign off. Tell them about the 704, Eric. But we're about to sign off, 704, baby. We're about to sign off, man. And I love you guys, man. We will do this show again. So, guys, about to sign off. And I'll see you guys next week. We got a cooker coming up next week. And the title of that show is going to be, and I can't tell you guys about that, but it's going to be powerful. But join in because you're going to love it. So we're about to sign off. And like I said, guys, share the show to as many men as you can. And let's liberate one Black man at a time. Be well.
4 in the morning, you got me up all cause you need to talk. To 4 in the evening, wanna break up, say that you've had enough. I'm tired of talking, again and again, argue about everything. You are my darling, this kiss and make up, I know you wanna touch. You call me every night, call me every day, I just wanna get you alone now. Trust me when I say